Chapter 1500. Yun Jian and Lin Wan's actions were like idiots in the eyes of everyone present. What was the use of being angry? Did they really think that they could enter the Min City Center Stadium to watch the concert at night after returning the concert ticket to Peng Kai Wei? I think they're stupid. Didn't they see the guards at the entrance of the stadium? Look at the people who went in before them. Which one of them didn't have a ticket to go in? Don't laugh to death. Ayaya. I'm really going to laugh to death. A girl standing beside Peng Kai Wei, who obviously wanted to please Peng Kai Wei, pointed at the departing figures of Yun Jian and Lin Wan and laughed twice. Hui, you've really gone too far this time. We're all from the same school, and we'll see each other frequently in the future. Yi Qiao saw that Lin Wan was chasing after Yun Jian. She looked at them with some worry and spoke to Peng Kai Wei at the same time. However, just as she spoke to Peng Kai Wei fiercely interrupted Yi Qiao's words. What do you mean by going too far? This is my ticket. If you want to go with them, then go by yourself. Leave the ticket for me and go with Lin Wan. Peng Kai Wei had made up her mind and felt that she was powerful. She also knew that Yi Qiao wouldn't really leave. Sure enough, Yi Qiao only glanced at Lin Wan a few times with worry. Then, she stood on the spot and shouted at Lin Wan a few times. Seeing that Lin Wan didn't listen, she stood on the spot and stomped her feet. In the end, because she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to enter the concert, she could only obediently stand beside Peng Kai Wei. Seeing that Yi Qiao glanced at Yun Jian and Lin Wan with worry and didn't chase after them in the end, Peng Saihui's sense of pride became even more obvious. Let's go and see them. I want to see if the two of them can enter. Peng Kai Wei completely wanted to see Yun Jian and Lin Wan make a fool of themselves. As she spoke, Peng Kai Wei led the group of boys and girls around her towards Yun Jian, who was already standing in front of the stadium, as if they were watching a show. Yun Jian, let's go back. She made it seem like we want her ticket. With her attitude, if she doesn't want to see it, it's no big deal. Let's go back to the dormitory or go shopping. Oh, by the way, we can also see what she's doing at home since she hasn't come to school for so many days. Lin Wan thought that Yun Jian had come to the gymnasium out of anger. After all, without a ticket, it was harder to sneak into the concert of an international superstar. Muing is very busy. Don't disturb her. I have to go. Yun Jian simply said what she wanted to say. Muing had been very busy recently. Because Mad Dragon was going back to Kosham Mercenaries, she had been staying with Mad Dragon. As for the concert this time, she had to go. Ha ha ha. You have to go. I'm dying of laughter. Do you think you can get in without a ticket? At this moment, Peng Saihui's voice came from behind. Those slightly mocking words, no matter who heard it, would feel uncomfortable. Peng Kai Wei, is it okay for you to bully the little beauty like this? He. At this moment, a boy in the same class as Peng Kai Wei laughed twice. He even looked at Yun Jian with a different gaze. Just when Peng Kai Wei and the others thought that Yun Jian would definitely not be able to enter the stadium, they saw Yun Jian standing at the entrance of the stadium and then saying something to the guard in front of everyone. The next second, the guard nodded at Yun Jian and agreed to let Yun Jian enter the stadium. Finally, Yun Jian waved at Lin Wan in front of everyone's eyes. The two of them entered the stadium in a flash. Chapter 1501. Peng Kai Wei and the others were dumbfounded when they saw Yun Jian walking into the stadium without a ticket and even bringing Lin Wan in with her. Especially Peng Kai Wei and the girl who mocked Yun Jian with Peng Kai Wei just now. The two of them stood rooted to the ground in a daze, as if they had seen something incredible. How did they get in? I thought they didn't have a ticket. The boy who called Yun Jian a little beauty pointed at Yun Jian and Lin Wan's backs and asked Peng Kai Wei. Peng Kai Wei naturally couldn't answer him. How would she know what Yun Jian said to the guard and how Yun Jian and Lin Wan walked into the stadium? How would I know? If you can get in without a ticket, then give it back to me. I'm so pissed. When Peng Kai Wei got angry, she snorted at the crowd and threatened them with a ticket. The group of people who came with Peng Kai Wei were all boys and girls from the military academy. They were all people with integrity. However, the concert of the international superstar, Yao Lily, was happening in the next few days. They really wanted to see the international superstar style. Therefore, the people present naturally accepted Peng Saihui's threat first. Humph. She's going in. Let's go in too. Peng Kaihui glared fiercely at Yun Jian and Lin Wan, who had already walked into the stadium. After she said that angrily, she led the crowd into the stadium with the tickets. On the other side, Yun Jian and Lin Wan had already walked into the stadium. The concert was held in the stadium, and there were still 2 hours to go. 2 hours later, the superstar Yao Lily had not arrived yet. Normally, the audience would enter the stadium 2 hours earlier. Because the stadium was too big and there were too many people, the audience had to enter at least 2 hours earlier. The superstar would only appear on the stage after all the audience was seated. As soon as Yun Jian and Lin Wan entered the stadium, Lin Wan asked Yun Jian in surprise, "Yun Jian, didn't we not have tickets? Why did the guards let us in?" As soon as Lin Wan finished her question, Yun Jian answered her, "I said we're logistics personnel." "Logistics? Us?" Lin Wan pointed at herself and asked in surprise. Yun Jian only nodded her head slightly. Just as he finished answering Lin Wan, Peng Saihui's voice came from behind. "Hey, wait a minute. Stop right there." Yun Jian and Lin Wan did not stop and continued walking forward. "Huh, didn't you hear what I said? I told you to stop." Seeing that Yun Jian and Lin Wan were ignoring her, Peng Kaihui was angry. She gritted her teeth and yelled, then ran up with a group of people and blocked Yun Jian's path. "How did you get in?" Peng Kaihui glanced at Yun Jian and asked in a tone that made it seem like Yun Jian had a report to her. Yun Jian ignored her and walked towards the backstage of the concert not far away. "Why are you ignoring me? How rude. Hey, what are you doing there?" Peng Kaihui shouted when she saw that Yun Jian was ignoring her. "Hey, little beauty, that's the backstage of the concert. If you go that way, the staff will kick you out," a boy said kindly. "Yeah, Wan, call your friend. Don't let her go in again. That's the backstage of the concert," Yi Xiao said to Yun Jian. Just as she finished speaking, Yun Jian's voice came through. Yun Jian's words shocked everyone present. Chapter 1502. Yao Lily? She's going to look for that damned Yao Lily. Yun Jian's words shocked everyone present. "You know superstar Yao Lily?" The guy who called Yun Jian Little Beauty looked at Yun Jian in shock. Yao Lily was an international superstar, and this was the first time Yao Lily came to Country Z for a concert. Therefore, the scene was quite sensational. Some fans even came all the way from provinces to Min City just to catch a glimpse of Yao Lily. As soon as the guy spoke, everyone turned their attention to Yun Jian. After all, to everyone, it was an honor to be able to catch a glimpse of an international superstar like Yao Lily at a concert. As for Yun Jian, she actually said that she was going to look for that damned Yao Lily. Did she know Yao Lily? You were lucky to be able to sneak in without a ticket at the entrance. Now you're taking advantage of her? Superstar Yao Lily is a foreigner, and this is her first time in Country Z. She's even holding such a large-scale concert. How could she possibly know a country bumpkin like you? If Yao Lily knows you, then I can even say that she's my relative. Heh, she really thinks she's human. Peng Kaihui was the kind of woman who was very jealous. As long as she targeted someone, she would do her best to target them. No matter what that person did, whether it was good or bad, she hated them. When that damned woman came to Country Z for the first time, you were still in your mother's womb. Yun Jian ignored Peng Saihui's words. She glanced at Peng Kaihui from the corner of her eye and walked towards the backstage after saying that. "Yun Jian, can we really go backstage?" Lin Wan asked expectantly and cautiously. Usually, there would be staff guarding the backstage. Those who weren't staff wouldn't be allowed to enter. "Of course not." Yun Jian smiled slightly. Just when Lin Wan thought that she would definitely be able to enter, she suddenly said. As expected, the backstage of the concert was strictly guarded, so Yun Jian and Lin Wan couldn't get in. Of course, Yun Jian did not force her to go backstage. If Yun Jian insisted on going backstage, she would probably rush in even if the sky fell. They did not enter the backstage because Yao Lily was not there yet. Yun Jian was not stupid. She naturally knew that celebrities were usually the last to appear. It wouldn't be too late to sneak backstage to look for him after Yao Lily finished his concert. At this moment, Yun Jian and Lin Wan casually found a bench and sat down. It was true that tickets were required to enter the stadium, but once you entered the stadium, you could sit anywhere you wanted. Those who came late could only stand. In other words, it was on a first-come, first-served basis. Yun Jian and Lin Wan casually found a seat and sat down. Peng Kaiwei also ran over with a group of people. Then, Peng Kaiwei and the others sat next to Yun Jian. The reason why Peng Kaiwei sat next to Yun Jian was to mock Yun Jian. She was really angry about what happened just now, so she chased after Yun Jian and wanted to mock her. Seeing that Yun Jian was sitting there and there was no one around, Peng Kaiwei sat in the row in front of Yun Jian's seat. She turned to look at Yun Jian and said to Yun Jian in front of the surrounding people, "I told you, you can't enter the backstage of the concert at all. Also, you said that you know Yao Lily. If you know Yao Lily, you won't be able to enter the backstage of the concert at all." Peng Kaiwei chased after Yun Jian because she wanted to make her admit that she didn't know Yao Lily or admit defeat to her. After all, in front of so many classmates, especially when there were male classmates around, if Yun Jian admitted defeat to her, it would make Peng Kaiwei feel that she was more powerful and full of self-esteem. She would even be able to hold her head high in front of the boys. Peng Kaiwei felt that Yun Jian should have admitted her mistake by now. But what she didn't expect was that Yun Jian only left her with one sentence: "Leave my sight, and you can live to 100 years old." What if she didn't? Hearing Yun Jian's words, the surrounding boys and girls were all stunned. Chapter 1503. Especially those young boys and girls who had never heard Yun Jian say such harsh words. Now that they heard Yun Jian say something like that, they were all dumbfounded. Although they were all military school students, Peng Kaiwei, Yi Xiao, and Peng Saihui's group did not know that Yun Jian was the famous killing god of Team Monarch, the terrifying female student who won first place during the military training period. If they knew, their attitude would definitely change. Similarly, after hearing Yun Jian's words, Peng Kaiwei was also stunned. When she came to her senses, Peng Kaiwei stared at Yun Jian with a hateful gaze. "You mean to say that you're cursing me? You?" Peng Kaiwei pointed at Yun Jian in disbelief. She looked at Yun Jian with extreme disgust and said fiercely. However, before she could finish her sentence, Lin Wan interrupted her. "She told you not to hang around in front of us. You didn't give us the tickets to enter here, so please move to the side. There are many seats there. You can all sit there, but please stay away from us." At this moment, Lin Wan was also filled with disgust towards Peng Kaiwei and her group. However, just as Lin Wan finished her sentence, Yi Xiao stood up again and said to Lin Wan in an extremely righteous tone, "Lin Wan, don't be like this. We're all classmates." Before Yi Xiao could finish, Lin Wan interrupted her. "Sorry, I don't have such a classmate." Yi Xiao was the kind of person who would change sides and waver. However, Lin Wan was different. Lin Wan was the kind of person who would only help her friends. Just like earlier, even if they could not enter the stadium to watch the concert. Once Yun Jian left, Lin Wan also returned the tickets in her hand to Peng Kaiwei and followed Yun Jian. Lin Wan originally thought that she wouldn't be able to see the concert today, but she didn't expect that Yun Jian could fool the guard and let them both in. Lin Wan and Yi Xiao knew each other first. Lin Wan asked Yun Jian to come here today purely because of Yi Xiao. Yi Xiao and Peng Kaiwei knew each other, so Peng Kaiwei gave Yi Xiao a few tickets. Then Yi Xiao gave 2 tickets to Lin Wan. Originally, Lin Wan was quite considerate of Lin Wan. However, no one stood up for Peng Kaiwei when Peng Kaiwei was so mean to Yun Jian, so Lin Wan completely ignored it. Lin Wan was the kind of person who would risk her life for her friends. Lin Wan's words completely broke up with Yi Xiao because of Yun Jian. In fact, this matter was Peng Saihui's fault. However, Yi Xiao was afraid that she couldn't enter the stadium, so she just watched Yun Jian and Lin Wan walk over. Lin Wan and Yi Xiao didn't get too close to each other. Since we're not welcome, then let's go." Peng Kaiwei couldn't stand it. She slapped the stool and immediately stood up and walked to the other side. A few other people who wanted to be on good terms with Peng Kaiwei also followed. Yi Xiao looked at Lin Wan and Yunjian a few times and finally followed. Linwan opened her mouth, but nothing came out in the end. More and more people came to the stadium, and in the end, it became a sea of people. There was no place to sit, and in the end, there wasn't even a place to stand. Finally, after the main lights of the stadium went off, the fluorescent light on the big stage lit up. Under the host's guidance, the international superstar Yao Lily appeared on the stage. On the big stage, Yao Lily's body was enchanting. She was wearing a miniskirt, revealing a pair of long legs that could make men have nosebleeds just by looking at them. The atmosphere of the stadium instantly reached the climax. Seeing Yao Lily on the big stage, Yunjian narrowed her eyes and smiled slightly. As expected, she was still as good at seducing people as before. Yunjian didn't pay attention to Yao Lily's dance and song. As soon as the 2-hour concert ended, the crowd began to walk out of the stadium. Yunjian took advantage of the chaos to sneak into the backstage of the concert with Lin Wan. Just as Yunjian took Lin Wan to the backstage of the concert, Peng Kai-wei and the others also unconsciously walked through the same tunnel that led to the backstage of the concert with Yunjian. Yunjian, where are we going? Lin Wan asked. We're going to find her. Yunjian didn't say much. She led the way and walked all the way backstage of the concert. Halfway through, they bumped into Peng Kai-wei and the others who were walking towards them. What are you two doing here? Peng Kai-wei screamed. Yunjian ignored Peng Kai-wei and walked towards Yao Lily's lounge with Lin Wan. In front of Yao Lily's lounge backstage, more than a dozen burly bodyguards were standing guard. There were already a lot of fans who fought their way out of the crowd, standing at the entrance of the lounge. Because of the dozen burly bodyguards, the fans couldn't enter the lounge. If I can see Yao Lily up close when she comes out later, I'll have no regrets in my life. Me too. I'm so excited. I wonder if I can see her later. If I can shake hands with her, I don't want to wash my hands this year. A few fans were standing at the entrance and waiting exaggeratedly. Just as they said this, a figure suddenly flashed in front of them. Peng Kai-wei and the others had just arrived when they saw the dozen or so bodyguards. They were disappointed. Just as they thought of this, Yunjian didn't say anything. She walked up to the dozen or so bodyguards in front of everyone and knocked them to the ground. Then, she walked to Yao Lily's lounge and kicked the door open. Yunjian, she's so fierce. How could this little girl be so fierce? She actually managed to take down more than a dozen strong bodyguards in one go. Everyone present was dumbfounded. Chapter 1504. By then, Yunjian had already kicked open the door to the lounge and barged in. The few people standing a distance away were already pale with fright. Putting aside Yunjian's act of barging in, just look at the dozen bodyguards she had taken down. They were bodyguards. Bodyguards protecting celebrities. These 2 bodyguards must have been trained in martial arts. Especially bodyguards protecting celebrities. They must be the best bodyguards sent by a bodyguard company. But what about Yunjian? She actually single-handedly took down more than a dozen bodyguards on ground? Could she be the famous slashing god from Team Monarch in our school? One of the boys suddenly saw Yunjian taking down a dozen bodyguards and recalled a certain legendary figure in their school that had gone viral. His eyes widened as he asked in bewilderment. Yunjian had already walked into the lounge, and there were more than a dozen bodyguards lying in front of the lounge. Lin Wan was also standing with Peng Kai-wei and the rest who were still in shock. The boy exclaimed in horror, attracting the attention of Peng Kai-wei, Yi Xiao, and the rest of the boys and girls. What? You said she's that person from Team Monarch? Team Monarch's slashing god? You mean the killing god who won first place in a wilderness survival activity during our first year of high school? As soon as the boy spoke, another boy immediately chimed in. His tone was filled with shock and fear, as if he had heard something terrible. Among the freshmen, Team Monarch's slashing god was especially famous. Perhaps not many people would recognize the name Yunjian, but when it came to slashing god, there were not many in Min City Military School who did not recognize her. Especially the boys from Min City Military School. After hearing about Team Monarch's slashing god battle record, they instantly became her admirers. Previously, they only heard Lin Wan calling Yunjian by her real name, but no one knew that Yun Jian was slashing God. Peng Kai Wei, Yi Qiao, and the others were stunned. Then, they turned to look at Lin Wan. Yi Qiao said, Lin Wan, this, your friend, could he really be the killing god? Team Monarch's Grim Reaper? She is. Shouldn't you all know that? Lin Wan replied in confusion as soon as Yi Qiao's question was heard. This echo frightened Yi Qiao, Peng Kai Wei, and the others to the point that their expressions changed slightly. Yun Jian was Team Monarch's slashing god. If she had known this from the beginning, Peng Kai Wei would not have spoken to Yun Jian in that tone. But now, even if she knew that Yun Jian was the killing god, the hatred had already been formed. Peng Kai Wei would definitely not lower her head because of this. Ayaya! Just then, Yao Lily's shriek came from a lounge. The group of bodyguards rushed into the lounge. Seeing this, Peng Kai Wei and the others rushed in as well. The fans who weren't stopped by the bodyguards also followed in. Before running into the lounge, Peng Kai Wei complained. I knew she wouldn't know Yao Lily. He's a superstar. Does she think that just because she's Team Monarch's slashing god, she's on the same level as the superstar Yao Lily? Just her. Peng Kai Wei wanted to say something, but the group had already entered the lounge. Her words came to an abrupt halt when she saw the next scene. In the lounge, Yao Lily wanted to give Yun Jian a big hug, but was stopped by Yun Jian's hand. SS, why are you here? I didn't expect you to come to this godforsaken place. Yao Lily was stopped by Yun Jian and could not get close to Yun Jian, but she was not angry. Looking at the situation, Yao Lily was probably trying to get close to Yun Jian and curry favor with Yun Jian. Yao Lily knew Yun Jian? Everyone who walked in from the lounge was dumbfounded. Whether it was the bodyguards or the fans, especially Peng Kai Wei and the others, their eyes were wide open as if they had seen a ghost. The international superstar, Yao Lily, knew Yun Jian. Moreover, it seemed like Yao Lily wanted to get close to Yun Jian, and Yun Jian was the one who rejected him. Chapter 1505. Everyone present could understand Yi Qiao's shock. Compared to Yi Qiao, Peng Kai Wei was so scared that her face turned pale and she couldn't even utter a word. The international superstar, Yao Lily, actually knew Yun Jian. Those who knew had the same reaction as Peng Kai Wei, Yao Lily, and the others. Those who didn't know had the same reaction as the bodyguards and the fans. They were all in a state of shock and confusion. The international superstar, Yao Lily, was sexy and cold in front of others. Why did he look like he was about to pounce on Yun Jian when he was in front of Yun Jian? Peng Kai Wei, Yi Qiao, and the others had the same reaction as everyone present. Yun Jian didn't look at the reactions of the people around her, nor did she have the intention to pay attention to them. She glanced at Yao Lily and then withdrew her hand. She walked lazily to the seat in front of Yao Lily's dressing table and sat down on the bench. She immediately crossed her legs and looked up at Yao Lily with narrowed eyes. Your seat is pretty cool. Are you in this line of work now? Yun Jian raised her hand and fiddled with the makeup on Yao Lily's dressing table, as she said with a smile. This line of work was naturally referring to being a singer or an actress. Yao Lily smiled. He and Yun Jian didn't avoid the topic in front of everyone. Instead, they continued to talk about things that the people present couldn't understand. Isn't that so? I don't have your ability to survive in that kind of place where people are eaten alive without spitting out their bones. If it wasn't for you back then, I reckon that I would have entered your line of work. Now, I'm afraid that not even a pile of bones is left. Yao Lily showed a scornful smile as he spoke. Yao Lily and Yun Jian's every word and action made the people present puzzled. An international superstar was actually talking to Yun Jian. What's more, they were talking about things that no one could understand. The people around them were completely stunned. Even the fans who saw their idol, Yao Lily, froze in confusion. For a moment, no one thought of rushing to Yao Lily to ask for an autograph and a handshake. Everyone was stunned by the conversation between Yun Jian and Yao Lily. Yao Lily turned around and looked at Yun Jian. She asked the question that had been bothering her for many years. Oh, right. SS, why did you save me in the first place? SS, why did Yao Lily call Yun Jian SS? Peng Kai Wei and the others were confused. But then they suddenly recalled, wasn't Yun Jian the killing god? Why did Lily know about SS? Why did she say that Yun saved her? Did Yun Jian save the superstar Yao Lily? Everyone present was dying to know the reason. Thus, they all stared at Yun Jian and Yao Lily without saying a word. Yun Jian's smile became even more obvious after hearing Yao Lily's words. She pursed her lips and smiled faintly. Then, she said, because you're not suitable to live in that kind of place. That was the only explanation. She had once saved Yao Lily's life because of this reason. An hunt organization would recruit a new batch of children every year and let them fight. After a few years, the weak would be eliminated and the strong would remain. At that time, Yun Jian was already an internationally famous agent, Wang Shashan. When Yao Lily was abducted into an hunt organization, she was already very old. She was about 18 or 19 years old. At that time, Yao Lily had been in an hunt organization for about 2 to 3 months. When Yun Jian saw Yao Lily, she felt as if she had found Muing. Yun Jian's intuition told her that Yao Lily was not suitable to live in such a place. Because of this reason, Yun Jian directly sent Yao Lily away. Therefore, Yao Lily only stayed in an assassin organization for 2 to 3 months. Although it was only 2 to 3 months, staying in a hunt organization for 2 to 3 months was enough to change a person. Yao Lily still remembered that before Yun Jian sent her home, she said the same thing. Yun Jian said, "Go home. You're not suitable to live in such a place." Yun Jian was clearly younger than her, but she said such profound words. Yao Lily's feelings were extremely complicated at that time. You're still the same as before. Mysterious, strong, and dazzling. You're someone I can never reach. I will never know your background. I only know that you're SS, the legend. Yao Lily commented on Yun Jian in front of everyone. The superstar Yao Lily was usually very sharp-tongued. This was the first time she had commented on someone in such a way in public. Chapter 1506. Yao Lily was startled when Yun Jian walked into the lounge. After all, she was a superstar now. Where were the bodyguards outside when someone suddenly barged into the lounge? Where were the bodyguards? However, Yao Lily did not expect that Yun Jian would reveal her identity to Peng Kaiwei and the bodyguards outside the lounge before they could react. That was why the bodyguards, Peng Kaiwei, Yi Xiao, and the others who were standing outside the lounge heard Yao Lily scream. In fact, Yao Lily screamed because she saw Yun Jian again. Yao Lily knew that someone like Yun Jian could change her face at any time. In other words, Yun Jian was the kind of person who would change her face every time she appeared on stage. Yun Jian only raised her eyebrows slightly when she heard Yao Lily's evaluation of her. Peng Kaiwei, Yi Xiao, and the others around her could no longer describe their feelings with the word shock. SS, do you want to have supper with me tonight? Yao Lily looked at Yun Jian and invited her while everyone was still in shock. A superstar invited her for supper? The people around her almost died of envy. Sure. Yun Jian sat in front of the dressing table and nodded slightly. Let's go. I'm just about to remove my makeup and have supper with my colleagues. Bring your friends along and let's go together. Yao Lily waved at Lin Wan, Peng Kaiwei, and the others. She thought that Peng Kaiwei and the others were also Yun Jian's friends, so she smiled at them. Lin Wan, let's go. However, Yun Jian only invited Lin Wan. Hey, we also came here together. Lin Wan, Yun Jian. Peng Kaiwei rolled her eyes. How could she let go of such a good opportunity to dine with a superstar? Therefore, when Peng Kaiwei saw that Yun Jian and Lin Wan were about to leave, she wanted to curry favor with Yun Jian, hoping that Yun Jian would let bygones be bygones and bring her along. I came with my friends. The two of us. Yun Jian's voice interrupted Peng Saihui's words. Peng Saihui's face instantly darkened to the extreme. However, Yun Jian knew the superstar. Even if Peng Kaihui had lost her mind, she would never choose to argue with Yun Jian at this moment. Therefore, Peng Kaihui watched as Yao Lily removed her makeup and left with Yun Jian and Lin Wan under the protection of a dozen bodyguards. After Yun Jian and Lin Wan left with Yao Lily, Peng Kaihui stood there with a sullen face. How could she do that? We're all classmates. Yi Qiao spoke up in a righteous tone. However, Yi Qiao said that because she really wanted to go with them. Oof. Does she think that she knows a superstar? Peng Kaoyi stood there sullenly and shouted angrily. Yun Jian and Lin Wan followed Yao Lily and got into a super luxurious car after breaking through the crowd of fans. The moment they got into the luxurious car, even Yao Lily let out a long sigh of relief. Then, Yao Lily turned to look at Yun Jian and said, "Phew, I didn't scare you guys, did I? Actually, their fans are quite protective of me. However, this lineup can always scare me. Every time I come out, they will surround me as if they don't care about their lives. All right, the two of you should follow me closely later. Tonight is our company's party, and there will be other superstars. If they say anything bad to you guys, just ignore them." Yao Lily's words made Lin Wan extremely excited. It was already surprising enough to be able to see the superstar Yao Lily at such a close distance. Could they even see other superstars now? And this was all thanks to Yun Jian knowing Yao Lily. Really? Can we really see other superstars later? Lin Wan made an expectant gesture and looked at Yao Lily expectantly. Chapter 1507. It's true, but don't get your hopes up too high. Maybe they'll be different from the celebrities in your impression. Yao Lily flashed her pearly white front teeth at Lin Wan with a smile. This smile made Lin Wan's excited face moisten. Not only was the superstar Yao Lily sitting in front of her, she was even talking to her. She had seen her. She had spoken. Lin Wan was the kind of person who chased after celebrities crazily. Although she did not like Yao Lily the most among the celebrities, Lin Wan was still in disbelief when she spoke to Yao Lily. "Aren't you afraid that I'll offend everyone in your company if I attend your company's gathering with you?" Yun Jian asked as she sat lazily in the luxurious sedan seat, tilting her head slightly to look at Yao Lily. Yun Jian was the kind of person who would seek revenge and repay kindness. She would return double the favor to those who treated her well, but she would turn on those who treated her badly without regard for anyone's feelings. Yao Lily was well aware of this. After listening to Yun Jian, Yao Lily grinned and said, "I'm not afraid." Yun Jian exchanged a smile with Yao Lily. At the entrance of Chaotian Hotel, a luxurious sedan parked in front of Chaotian Hotel's main entrance. Chaotian Hotel was a newly opened five-star global hotel chain in Longmen City. It was opened recently. As Chaotian Hotel was a global chain, a world-renowned five-star hotel, its interior was lavishly decorated, and its location was the most luxurious city center in the city. The cheapest meal in Chaotian Hotel would cost up to 1,000 yuan, while the most expensive meal would cost up to 10,000 yuan. This standard of consumption was very expensive in the eyes of ordinary people in Country Z in 1999. In other words, those who could dine or stay in Chaotian Hotel were either leaders, tycoons, or famous people from all over the country. The opening of Chaotian Hotel was purely to serve the important people. "It's here. We can get off now." Yao Lily got out of the car first. Then, she held the door for Yun Jian and helped Yun Jian out of the car. When the driver saw this, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Who was Yao Lily? She was an international superstar. In the past, Yao Lily was extremely arrogant. He had to be supported when he got out of the car, waited on when he entered the hotel, and rinsed his mouth when he ate. Many people even accused her of putting on airs. But what did he see today? The international superstar Yao Lily opened the door for a 16-year-old girl? Was this a joke? Is this true? Lin Wan got out of the car with Yun Jian. Just as the three of them got out of the car and made their way to Chaotian Hotel's luxurious entrance, they had only taken 2 steps when a woman in her 20s came over with a guffaw. The woman was dressed in bright red. She had a great figure and was quite good-looking. The woman had seen how Yao Lily opened the door for Yun Jian just now. Once she came over, she sized Yao Lily up in front of everyone and sneered, "You're so arrogant." "Yao Lily, what's wrong with you today? Why did you open the door for a girl dressed like a country bumpkin? Did your head get caught in the door? Have you become a little indecent?" As soon as the woman sneered, Lin Wan turned her head and saw the woman's face clearly. The moment she saw the woman's face, Lin Wan almost screamed. Lu Yan. It was Lu Yan. Lu Yin was a superstar in Z country. She had just won an international award for Best Actress and was very popular now. Basically, everyone in the entertainment industry knew her. Hearing that she was a country bumpkin again, Yin Jian raised her eyebrows slightly. Chapter 1508. Lin Wan was excited when she saw Lu Yin, but when she recalled what Lu Yin said, Lin Wan was a little disappointed. Lin Wan was Lu Yan's fan, a die-hard fan. Lin Wan came from a good family. Her house could afford a color TV. When she saw Lu Yin in the movie, Lin Wan was attracted by Lu Yan's pure appearance. Later on, after Lu Yin became popular, she changed her innocent appearance. Later on, when she appeared on TV, she would wear heavy makeup and sexy clothes just like now. In fact, Lin Wan didn't like Lu Yan's clothes, but Lin Wan still liked Lu Yin as usual. Just now, when Lu Yin appeared, Lin Wan was so excited that she almost screamed. But when she recalled what Lu Yin said, Lin Wan almost couldn't believe that the Lu Yin standing in front of her was the female star she had always liked. Yun Jian was dressed plainly today, but when she came to such an occasion like Chaotian Hotel, she really looked ordinary. Let's go. Ignore her. Yao Lily didn't plan to pay attention to Lu Yin at all. She waved to Yun Jian and Lin Wan, then turned and walked into Chaotian Hotel. In the entertainment industry, celebrities use their most attractive side to expose to the audience, but in reality, no one could see their true side. The second floor of Chaotian Hotel had been booked by Yao Lily's company. In addition to many big stars, screenwriters, directors, and other big shots, there were also the company's executives, including some not-so-famous stars and staff members on the second floor. But most of the people who showed up were well-dressed. Yun Jian, who was only wearing casual clothes, could be recognized at a glance. In fact, the reason why Yao Lily's company called so many screenwriters, producers, investors, and directors was that they wanted to choose good seedlings from the company to cultivate. Today's party was a party in a nice way, but in a bad way, it was a Hongmin banquet. Female celebrities who wanted to be famous naturally had to pay a price in exchange for screen time and opportunities. Unspoken rules. This was something that anyone with a discerning eye would know. Of course, Yao Lily brought Yun Jian and Lin Wan here today with no intention of letting Yun Jian and Lin Wan step into the entertainment industry. At most, she wanted to use this opportunity to have a meal with Yun Jian. However, as soon as Yao Lily, Yun Jian, and Lin Wan sat down, a fat man with a beer belly sat at the same table as Yun Jian and the others. The beer-bellied man squinted his eyes at Yun Jian and said directly, "Don't worry. Little girl, you're quite pretty, aren't you? Why are you dressed like this?" "Haha, I'm Zheng Weicheng, the director of Duo G Company. Little girl, you're quite pretty. Are you interested in developing in the entertainment industry?" As soon as the man who called himself Zheng Weicheng finished speaking, a sharp female voice beside him interrupted. "Director Zheng, this little girl's taste in clothes isn't very good. I'm afraid she won't be popular no matter what." With that said, Yun Jian saw a figure flash in front of her. In the next second, the sharp female voice, which was Lu Yin, who had just met at the entrance, sat down on Zheng Weicheng's lap. She wrapped her arms around Director Zheng's chest and spoke seductively. This scene almost made Lin Wan vomit in disgust. She didn't expect the female celebrity she had always liked, Lu Yin, to have such a person behind her. "As long as you're pretty, I'll make you popular." Director Zheng naturally touched Lu Yan's butt. Then, he looked up at Yun Jian and spoke in a tone that he thought a little girl like Yun Jian would definitely yearn to become a celebrity. He said to Yun Jian, "How about it, little girl? As long as you give something up, there's a wide road waiting for you to walk on. The entertainment industry. This is something that many people can't even dream of." "Oh, the entertainment industry?" Yun Jian nearly chuckled out loud, but she managed to keep a smirk on her face as she uttered the words with a smirk. "Yes," Director Zheng said as he pushed Lu Yin away. Then, he looked at Yun Jian as if a fish had taken the bait. "You want me to enter the entertainment industry? Aren't you afraid that I'll destroy your entertainment company?" Yun Jian's red lips curled. She tapped the table with her fingernails and spoke indifferently. "Puffed. You? Just you? You'll even destroy Director Zheng's entertainment company. Ha ha ha. Are you kidding? Director Zheng's entertainment company is famous in our country. Lu Yin laughed out loud on the spot. However, just as Lu Yin started laughing, a middle-aged man who was slightly thinner than Director Zheng ran over. He looked at Yun Jian with a fearful gaze and spoke to Director Zheng and Lu Yin. You guys are crazy. How dare you provoke this little girl? Do you know about Baiguang Model Agency from a while ago? Baiguang Model Agency has closed down because they provoked this little girl. Baiguang's boss is still begging on streets. How stupid are you to provoke her? You guys, just as the middle-aged man spoke up to this point, Director Zheng and Lu Yan's smiles completely froze. What? Baiguang Model Agency closed down because they provoked Yun Jian? They provoked this ordinary-looking girl. Chapter 1509. Lu Yin and Director Zheng's faces stiffened. In the beginning, Lu Yin and Director Zheng thought that Yun Jian was the kind of girl who came from the countryside and looked like a country bumpkin at first glance. Most of these girls came from poor families because they didn't have money or because they wanted to live a richer life in order to not be ridiculed in school. There were a lot of them who came out to sell themselves. Today, when Director Zheng saw Yun Jian, his eyes were wide open. When Lu Yin came over and plopped herself on Director Zheng's lap just now, the latter had been stroking her, but in thinking about how alluring she looked in her casual outfit. There was nothing to criticize about Yun Jian's looks. Her innocent face paled in comparison to Country Z's movie queen Lu Yin, who had just won an international award recently. With such looks, if she were to work in the entertainment industry, as long as she paid the price, she would definitely be popular. That was why Lu Yin mocked Yun Jian in every possible way. The reason was that she was afraid that Yun Jian would really enter the industry and agree to Director Zheng's request to compete with her for resources. Never in Director Zheng and Lu Yan's wildest dreams would they have imagined that Yun Jian was the one who had caused the famous entertainment agency, Baiguang Model Agency, to go bankrupt. Baiguang Model Agency was a big company that was famous all over the world. Back then, Baiguang Model Agency's prospects were very good. It had already entered the global rankings and was comparable to Yao Lily's entertainment company. However, such a big entertainment company closed down just like that. Director Zheng and Lu Yin couldn't believe it when they heard that Baiguang Model Agency had closed down. Later, they saw the boss of Baiguang Model Agency begging on the streets with their own eyes. Director Zheng and Lu Yin were shocked. At that time, they didn't think too much about it. They didn't even know the specific reason why Baiguang Model Agency closed down. They heard that Baiguang had offended someone. That was all. If it wasn't for the middle-aged man who came over midway, Director Zheng and Lu Yin wouldn't even know that Baiguang Model Agency was closed down because they had offended Yun Jian. She? Baiguang was closed down because they offended her? That's why Baiguang closed down now. The middle-aged man was an excellent lighting technician at the former Baiguang Model Agency, so his words were very credible. But even so, Director Zheng and Lu Yin were scared silly. How could this be? Yun Jian was dressed so plainly. How could she have the ability to destroy Baiguang Model Agency, which was as big as Yao Lily's company? Why not? I saw it with my own eyes when Baiguang went bankrupt. Her friend was caught and brought to Baiguang. In order to protect her innocence, she slit her wrist and committed suicide. So she chopped off a person's finger in front of everyone. She even ordered her subordinates to chop off everyone's manhood. That scene was really... I was standing outside at that time. I didn't dare to make a sound even when I heard it. I was almost scared to death. The middle-aged man, who used to be a lighting technician at Baiguang Model Agency, now working for Yao Lily's company, exclaimed in horror. As he spoke, he glanced sideways at Yun Jian, unable to hide the fear in his voice. Hearing that Yun Jian had the ability to chop off a person's finger in front of everyone, Lu Yin was so scared that her face turned pale. She was just a teenage girl. She actually dared to chop off a person's finger, just as she was thinking about it. Yao Lily's words to Yun Jian were heard again. The meaning of his words made Lu Yin, Director Zheng, and the others go crazy again. SS, why are you so gentle now? I remember that in the past, just because a subordinate of a small organization said a few words to you, you directly let that small group bleed the mountains and rivers. Yao Lily's casual words sounded as if they had heard something horrifying in everyone's ears. Just because of a few words, Yun Jian directly let a small organization bleed the mountains and rivers. Was she really just a teenage girl in her prime? Chapter 15:10. Only Director Zheng, Lu Yin, the middle-aged man, and Lin Wan could hear their conversation. Chaodian Hotel was huge, and the second floor was ridiculously large. There was a group of people walking back and forth with wine glasses in their hands. The wine glasses were filled with red wine, grape wine, and other alcoholic beverages. The scene was noisy, and everyone was talking about their own things. No one had the time to pay attention to this side. Therefore, only a few people could hear the conversation between Yao Lily and Yun Jian. At this moment, even Lin Wan was in a state of shock, not to mention Director Zheng, Lu Yin, and the middle-aged man. What did you say? She destroyed a small organization? Director Zheng, who stood not too far away from Yun Jian, gaped, unable to close his mouth as he stared at Yun Jian dumbfoundedly. No one in the room could react to his dumbfounded expression. Lu Yin was so scared that her face turned pale. She couldn't even say a word. Who could tell her that this young lady was so scary? Lu Yin recalled what Yun Jian said when she first saw her. She trembled. Could it be that Yun Jian really had some sort of backing? She just said that to Yun Jian. Would Yun Jian make a move on her? Lu Yin was a little afraid because Lu Yin was born in the countryside. She was able to climb to her current position because of her excellent bed skills. She seduced many directors and investors in exchange. In the past, Lu Yin was despised by others for being a country bumpkin. When she saw Yun Jian, she remembered that she was ridiculed as a country bumpkin, so she also ridiculed Yun Jian. After all, Lu Yin didn't have a powerful background, so when she thought that Yun Jian had a powerful background, she was really scared. But thinking about it carefully, she was now an international movie queen. Who could do anything to her? Especially a girl like Yun Jian. She probably only looked powerful on the surface, but in reality, she probably didn't have a powerful background. In addition, for the sake of her own face, Lu Yin naturally could not show a weak appearance. While everyone was still in a daze, Yun Jian replied to Yao Lily's message. When she replied to Yao Lily's message, the corners of her lips curved upwards. She gently pursed her lips into a faint smile and briefly spat out two words: life. In Country Z, she naturally couldn't act like she did in the organization. After all, her family still had to survive in Country Z. She, Yun Jian, was not an impulsive person. Hey, superstars, so you're here. At this time, a male voice suddenly interjected from the side. When they turned their heads slightly, they could see a man in a suit and leather shoes walking over. The man had short blonde hair, and he looked like a standard handsome man in the eyes of Westerners. Big eyes, a high-nose bridge, and fair skin. Without even looking, it was obvious that this man was a superstar. The man spoke in Chinese, but his Chinese wasn't very accurate. Yun Jian raised her eyes slightly and glanced at the man, then turned her gaze back. The man whistled and looked at Yun Jian's otherworldly face for a long time. Yun Jian didn't know this man at all, but Lin Wan, who was next to her, instantly screamed when she saw the man. Richard. It's actually Richard. The Richard who won the Oscar Best Actor award a while ago. He's so handsome. Much more handsome than on TV. Richard's appearance was considered a handsome man in the eyes of Westerners. He had short blonde hair and a high-nose bridge. At least in Lin Wan's aesthetic view, Richard's appearance was like a prince on a white horse in her mind. He was graceful and elegant, and no matter what occasion he attended, he gave off a sense of gentlemanliness. However, Richard saw Yun Jian at this time, but Richard was a very elegant prince. Even if he only saw Yun Jian, he still spoke to Yun Jian and Lin Wan in a very polite manner. Two beautiful princesses. May I know your names? Chapter 15:11. Richard's appearance attracted the attention of many women present. Regardless of whether it was the surrounding staff or some small female celebrities, they all sized up Richard. It was not an exaggeration to say that Richard was a graceful prince. The girls all fantasized that one day, their Prince Charming would ride a white horse to welcome them back to the big castle. It was precisely because of this fairy tale that Richard's appearance and words and actions were in line with the standards of a fairy tale, that he became popular. As an actor, Richard's appearance was undoubtedly in line with the standards of women's aesthetics. As a graceful prince, his words and actions were no different from the image of a Prince Charming in everyone's mind. Just like now, Richard was bending down, putting his hands together, and bowing 90 degrees to Yun Jian and Lin Wan. Bowing before asking for someone's name was the etiquette of Richard's country. After Richard became popular, there were even people who said that Richard was a noble prince of a certain country. In the world, there were still many countries that adhered to the king system. In a country, one leader had the final say, and the leader's relatives were the nobles in the palace. As early as when the last emperor of country Z abdicated, such a tyrannical system had been overthrown. In today's world, there were still many countries that retained such a king system. Therefore, when Richard became popular, there were reporters who tried to track him down. In the end, they found out that his background was quite huge. He was also a prince of a certain country. When this news came out, it was a direct sensation in the entertainment industry. After many people heard this news, they liked Richard even more. After all, Richard became popular as a Prince Charming when he first appeared. The Prince Charming that Richard played was not only handsome, but also elegant and gentlemanly like a real prince. After the news that Richard was suspected to be a real prince of a certain country was exposed, the entire entertainment industry was shaken. More importantly, after this, Richard became even more popular. A man with an elegant and gentle temperament like a Prince Charming acted as a Prince Charming. Later, it was reported that someone had seen him return to his castle. Most likely, he was a real prince. Once this news was reported, Richard became popular throughout the entertainment industry. He also became a Prince Charming in the hearts of countless girls. Lin Wan was a little girl who was completely mesmerized by Richard's handsomeness. Previously, when she saw Richard on TV, Lin Wan was mesmerized. Now that Richard was standing in front of her, Lin Wan felt that Richard was even more handsome in person than on TV. Lin Wan had been staring at Richard since he appeared. Now that she heard Richard ask for her name, she immediately rushed to reply, "My name is Lin Wan. This is my friend, Yun Jian." When Richard heard Yun Jian's name, he almost forgot about Lin Wan. Then, he added in a gentlemanly manner, "Yun Jian, that's a nice name." "Ahem, Lin Wan, your name is not bad either." But at the same time, Richard's eyes were still fixed on Yun Jian. "Kid, I haven't seen you for a long time. You're getting better and better." Yao Lily walked over and patted Richard on the shoulder. Obviously, Yao Lily and Richard had a good relationship. "Sister Lily, you haven't come to my house for a long time. My sister talks about you every day. Do you want to bring your two friends to my house for 2 days next week? Let's get to know each other better." Richard glanced at Yun Jian, then spoke to Yao Lily in a very familiar manner. Of course, his innate gentlemanly manner was still the same as before. Chapter 15:12. Lin Wan was probably the only person who couldn't tell that Richard was indirectly inviting Yun Jian to his house to play. When Lin Wan heard that Richard wanted Yao Lily to bring her and Yun Jian to his house to play, she almost jumped up in excitement. However, years of family education made Lin Wan suppress her inner emotions. In a place where no one could see, Lin Wan was holding Yun Jian's hand tightly at this moment. She was so excited that she almost screamed out loud. Richard was a superstar, an international superstar. He even won an Oscar for Best Actor. With such an achievement and the fact that Richard was most likely a real prince, coupled with his handsome face, high-nose bridge, fair skin, and big eyes, Lin Sanju could not help but wonder. He was the Prince Charming in the hearts of girls. There was no one else like him. Logically speaking, Lin Wan wasn't even qualified to meet a superstar like Richard. However, Richard actually invited Lin Wan to his house to play. Lin Wan felt that if she didn't hold Yun Jian's hand at this moment, she was afraid that she would have fainted from the excitement. Do you provide food and accommodation? If you provide food and accommodation, we can stay there for a few days. Yao Lily laughed twice, then patted Richard's shoulder and raised her hand to withdraw from Richard's shoulder. Yao Lily was obviously joking. Richard naturally knew that Yao Lily was joking, so Richard responded, "Of course, if Sister Lily brings her friends to play, I will provide food and accommodation here. You can also go on a scenic tour. There are a lot of scenic spots in our country." Richard said so much just because he wanted Yun Jian to go with them. Yun Jian might not have the intention to follow, but Lin Wan was completely infatuated with him. Richard said until here, and then he turned to look at Yun Jian and Lin Wan and solemnly invited, "Two beautiful princesses, I welcome you to travel to my country next week. How about it?" When Richard said this, his eyes were fixed on Yun Jian, as if he was waiting for Yun Jian's reply. Lin Wan didn't notice that Richard was staring at Yun Jian. The moment she was invited by Richard, Lin Wan shook Yun Jian's hand and almost jumped up in excitement. "I'll go. We'll go. We'll definitely go." Movie King Richard invited them to his country to play. Lin Wan was Richard's fan. As a movie fan, Lin Wan definitely had to go when Richard invited her. "Yun Jian, let's go together, okay? Go. Just treat it as a trip." Lin Wan shook Yun Jian's arm and pouted. She looked quite cute. Let's go." Since Lin Wan wanted to go, Yun Jian didn't mind. Coincidentally, Xiao Yunzhu and the other two had stayed at home for a long time. Yun Jian planned to take Xiao Yunzhu and the other two out for a walk. Speaking of which, Xiao Yunzhu and the other two hadn't been abroad before. This time, it would be a good idea to take the three of them out to see the world. "But I want to bring my brother and sister along," Yun Jian said. How could Richard reject Yun Jian when she said that she wanted to go with him? Go. The more the merrier, the merrier. Richard was afraid that Yun Jian would change her mind and say that she wouldn't go, so he quickly said. Luyan actually liked Richard a lot. So when she heard that Yun Jian and Lin Wan were invited to go to Richard's country, she shamelessly looked at Richard and said, "Brother Richard, you're going to go to Richard's country." "Brother Chad, they're all going to your country. Does your little sister Lu Yan want to go with them?" Richard felt a chill in his heart when he heard Lu Yan's words. However, he still nodded and said, "Let's all go together. It'll be fun." Lin Wan suddenly thought of Muing, so she quickly asked Richard, "Can I bring my other friend along?" Chapter 15:13. After the dinner party at Yao Lily's company ended, Lin Wan was still holding onto Yun Jian's hand on the way back to the dormitory. She couldn't believe that Richard had really invited her and Yun Jian to his country for a vacation. Logically speaking, Richard was a public figure, and Richard usually wouldn't invite people to his home. After all, as a public figure and a famous international movie king, Richard was most afraid of people knowing where his home was and his identity and status. However, Richard had actually invited her and Yun Jian to his home. Lin Wan couldn't believe it. "We have to hurry and tell Muing this good news. We'll be leaving after school on May 1st next week. Tell her to pack her things and get ready." As Lin Wan spoke, she took out her phone and dialed Mu Ying's number. These days, Muing had been sticking to Mad Dragon every day. She had originally given up on being with Mad Dragon because she felt that she wasn't good enough for Mad Dragon. They were no longer people from the same world. However, Mad Dragon had been staying in Min City these days, pestering Muing day and night. At night, when Muing was resting in the Mu family's villa, Mad Dragon directly jumped in through the window on the second floor. When Muing reacted, she felt that the window behind her was opened. When the cold wind blew, the moment she turned around, Mad Dragon hugged her from behind. Then, he forced her to be intimate with him. Muing tried her best to reject him, but it was to no avail. In the end, Muing could only compromise. It was just like how the Mad Dragon had not eaten his favorite piece of meat for hundreds of years. Now that the most delicious piece of meat had disappeared forever, he suddenly discovered that it had reappeared one day. If it weren't for Mu Ying's strong refusal, Mad Dragon would have eaten her. Of course, even now, Mad Dragon and Mu Ying had already done everything except for the last step. At this moment, Mu Ying and Mad Dragon were lying naked on the bed. At this moment, the phone rang. Mu Ying hesitated for a while. In the end, she glanced at Mad Dragon and gestured Mad Dragon to shush him. Then, she picked up the phone. As soon as he picked up the phone, Lin Wan's voice immediately came out. Mu Ying, let me tell you, we've been invited by the international superstar Richard to his country. I'm really happy. I've already said that I want to go with you. Are you going? Let's go together, okay? Mu Ying glanced at Mad Dragon and refused. I think I'll pass. On the other end, Lin Wan, who had offered Mu Ying a lot of benefits, but was rejected by Mu Ying, could only hang up helplessly. She's not going. We'll have to go together then. Lin Wan was only asking Mu Ying to go with him out of kindness. She thought that everyone liked to see superstars, but since Mu Ying refused to go, Lin Wan would not force her. Yun Jian replied with a press of her red lips. A week passed quickly. On Friday, school was dismissed. Yun Jian went back to Longmen City to bring Xiao Yunju, Lu Yin, and Lin Wan to meet Yao Lily. Yao Lily, Lu Yin, and Richard were international superstars, but they had not left Country Z. It was obvious that they were waiting for Yun Jian and Lin Wan. Yun Jian and Lin Wan brought Xiao Yunju, Lu Yin, and Lu Yin, who were carrying small backpacks, to meet Yao Lily and the others at the airport. Lu Yin glanced at Yun Jian once they met and scoffed softly before moving to the side. Yao Lily, Lu Yin, and Richard were fully armed at the airport. It was necessary, although they were in Country Z, if they were recognized as international superstars. Not only would they be surrounded, Yun Jian, Lin Wan, and the others would be implicated as well. Richard was the prince of Country H, and they were flying to Country H together. Yun Jian only brought a backpack that contained some of Xiao Yunju, Lu Yin, and Lu Yan's textbooks. Yun Jian was worried that Xiao Yunju, Lu Yin, and Lu Yin would be too tired, so she took some of the textbooks from Xiao Yunju, Lu Yin, and Lu Yan's backpacks and carried them on her back. Xiao Yunju rubbed his hands in the airport waiting room. Richard saw that Xiao Yunju, Lu Yin, and Lu Yin held a special place in Yun Jian's heart, so he squatted down in front of Xiao Yunju and tried to butter them up. Little brother, little sister, you're so cute. As he spoke, Richard took out 3 lollipops from his trouser pocket and handed them to Xiao Yunju, Lu Yin, and Lu Yin. Xiao Yunju, Lu Yin, and Lu Yin took the lollipops, but Xiao Yunju still complained when he took the lollipops. I still prefer the lollipops that Big Brother CE gave us. Richard's eyes flickered when he heard Lu Yin call him Big Brother CE, but Richard didn't know who Lu Yin was referring to. Big sister, why didn't Big Brother CE come? I want to see Big Sister and Big Brother CE kissing. Xiao Yunju pouted and turned his head to Yun Jian as he spoke. Richard trembled when he heard this. Who was this Big Brother CE that Lu Yin was talking about? He even kissed Yun Jian before? Richard's expression darkened at once. Just as he was thinking this, a mellow voice sounded. What entered Richard's eyes was a man who was taller, more handsome, and more perfect than him. He was so perfect that even gods and men would be envious of him. Of course I'll kiss my woman. Why didn't you call me along when you went out to play? Xiao Jian, you haven't learned your lesson? Toward the end of his words, Richard saw the handsome man who was more outstanding than him and had attracted all the girls' gazes the moment he appeared walking over from behind Yun Jian. The man wrapped his arm around Yun Jian's slim waist and took the heavy backpack from Yun Jian with his other hand to carry it on his back. It was as if he was reluctant to let her carry such a heavy backpack and was afraid that she would tire herself out. Coupled with his doting gaze on Yun Jian, it was as if he couldn't bear to let her carry such a heavy backpack. Lastly, he intimately leaned into Yun Jian's ear and said the embarrassing words in front of everyone. Richard's face darkened to the extreme. Chapter 15:14. Richard saw Ce hugging Yun Jian's slender waist and leaning intimately against Yun Jian. He even lowered his head slightly and whispered in Yun Jian's ear. Seeing this scene, Richard almost went crazy on the spot. However, years of cultivation allowed Richard to suppress his anger. He tried his best to pull out a handsome smile and said to C.E., "Little brother, you are?" Richard was obviously older than C.E. C.E. was only 20 years old, but Richard was already 25. Richard was 9 years older than Yun Jian, but Richard didn't feel that he was older. In their country, it was normal for men to be older than women by 10 to 20 years. Richard also knew that Yun Jian wasn't old enough to get married in Country Z. As long as she wasn't married, he had a way to snatch Yun Jian away from C.E. Therefore, Richard wasn't in a hurry. Richard planned to learn more about C.E. Only then would he have a way to snatch Yun Jian away from C.E. After all, Richard was a prince of Country H's royal bloodline. No matter what, he was better than this man who came out of nowhere. Richard was waiting for C.E.'s reply. He originally thought that C.E. would introduce his name and age to him. However, to his surprise, C.E. cast a sidelong glance at Richard with his hawk-like sharp eyes. Richard was startled by C.E.'s glance. However, he saw C.E.'s thin lips curl up slightly. He hugged Yun Jian's slender waist and announced his possession. "I'm her husband. Husband. Husband." The next exclamation came from Lu Yin and Yao Lily. The former had been staring at C. She had never seen such a handsome man and was mesmerized by him. The latter, Yao Lily, was surprised. How could someone like SS be married? SS, you're married? What kind of joke is this? You actually... Yao Lily looked at Yun Jian in horror and asked. Although Yao Lily didn't know Yun Jian's exact identity, she knew that Yun Jian was an internationally shocking existence. She was someone that no one could surpass and could only be admired from afar. Back then, Yao Lily could enter and leave Han freely. Other than the 4 leaders of Han and the leader of the organization, Yao Lily did not know who else could do so. Yao Lily thought that someone like Yun Jian would never be able to find a partner in this lifetime. She didn't expect that Yun Jian was married. Richard froze on the spot when he heard what C.E. said. She was married? He thought that C.E. was at most Yun Jian's boyfriend. He never expected C.E. to be Yun Jian's husband. Little brother, you really know how to joke. Aren't you Chinese not allowed to get married before reaching the legal age? Although I'm a foreigner, I still know this common knowledge. Don't lie to me that I'm not educated. Richard tried his best to act normal so that he wouldn't show that he was overly worried about Yun Jian. Richard just wanted to hear that Yun Jian wasn't married. Unexpectedly, C.E. reached into his trouser pocket and took out the country our marriage certificate that he always carried with him. Then, he waved it in front of Richard, Lu Yin, and Yao Lily, as if he was afraid that the marriage certificate before him would be torn apart. C.E. tucked the precious marriage certificate back into his pants pocket after showing it off expressionlessly with a small smile on his lips. Country, our marriage certificate. Xiao Jian and I are officially married. The familiar scene made Yun Jian tug at the corners of her lips. Chapter 15:15. Seeing C.E. showing off his and Yun Jian's marriage certificate, Richard's face darkened to the extreme. He looked as if he had stepped on dog shit. She's really married? She's really married? Oh my God. SS, you're really married? Before Richard could recover from his shock, Yao Lily could no longer control her inner feelings after seeing C.E. showing off his marriage certificate. She screamed at Yun Jian. Yes. Yun Jian nodded slightly, tacitly acknowledging the fact that she and C.E. were married. Oh my God, you didn't even inform me that you're married. When are you going to invite me to your wedding? Yao Lily walked up to Yun Jian. If C.E. wasn't standing behind Yun Jian, she would have walked over and wrapped her arms around Yun Jian's shoulders. Brother C.E. said that sister is going to university, so he's going to hold a wedding banquet. Then we'll be able to eat really, really, really delicious wedding candies. Duan Li shook the 2 braids on her head and blinked cutely at Yao Lily. Wow, little girl, you're so cute. Yao Lily squatted down and patted Duan Li's head. Duan Li shyly hid behind Xiao Yunju. Richard's eyes turned red when he saw C.E. holding Yun Jian's hand. Envy was inevitable. Richard really wished that he was the one holding Yun Jian's hand. However, many years of self-control allowed Richard to control himself from swearing. Lu Yin stood at the side and envied Yunjin so much that her eyes shone. Although she won the title of International Best Actress some time ago, she had suffered a lot of setbacks and setbacks before she obtained this title. In other words, she had to serve many men. Sometimes, she would even be beaten up by perverted men. Finally, she obtained her current status. But what about Yunjin? How did she get Richard's love so easily? If Yunjin wanted to enter the entertainment industry, just by the fact that she was liked by Richard, as long as she agreed to be his mistress, it would be a piece of cake for her to reach her current position. Lu Yin just could not stand Yunjin acting all high and mighty when she had such a great opportunity. By the way, SS, is your friend back for the toilet? We'll be boarding soon. Yao Lily reluctantly put down the cute Duan Li and stood up to ask Yunjin. Lin Wan had gone to the washroom before C.E. appeared and had yet to return. I'll go take a look. Yunjin tilted her head and said, There's no need. She's already back. Yao Lily suddenly saw Lin Wan running towards them happily from not too far away. The few of them then looked towards Lin Wan. Lu Yin stood behind Yao Lily. She frowned and immediately reached out to Yao Lily's hat and mask from behind her. Yao Lily was an international superstar and a public figure. She stood there waiting to board the plane, fully armed. She wore a cap on her head and a mask on her mouth. She was completely afraid of being recognized by the fans at the airport. If she was chased by them, it would cause chaos. Lu Yin quietly pulled Yao Lily's hat and mask off her head. In this way, Yao Lily's face was directly exposed in front of everyone. Lu Yin, Yao Lily finally reacted. Some people had already noticed Yao Lily. Hey, that's the international superstar, Yao Lily. Oh my God, Yao Lily is at the airport. Hurry up and chase after her. When the people around them noticed Yao Lily, they immediately became restless. In an instant, everyone rushed over to her. She turned her head and saw that Lu Yin had already hidden herself. In such a situation, Yao Lily was likely to be surrounded by the crowd. After all, as a public figure, being exposed in a public place would cause chaos. There might even be a stampede. As soon as Lin Wan came over, she was shocked by the crowd. This was obviously done by Lu Yin on purpose. If Yunjin and Si were not here, and Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Duan Yu were children, there would be a high possibility of stampede when the crowd gathered around Yao Lily. Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Duanya, who were not tall, would have a high chance of dying. Yunjin's face darkened. She commanded without fear. Yao Lily, lead the crowd to the east and run to the west. Get on the plane immediately. I'll see you on the plane. With that, Yunjin picked up Duanya. Chapter 15-16. Richard had already noticed Lu Yan's actions when she tore off Yao Lily's mask and hat. Lu Yan wanted to cause a riot at the airport, so she tore off Yao Lily's mask and hat. As an international superstar, Yao Lily was immediately discovered. Richard was not stupid. Of course, he could see that Lu Yan did not like Yunjin. She exposed Yao Lily in front of everyone at the airport. Her purpose was obvious. Because Yunjin and Yao Lily were friends, when Lu Yin tore off Yao Lily's mask, the surrounding people would immediately discover the identity of Yao Lily and rush forward. In this way, Yunjin would also be surrounded. Lu Yin was definitely thinking that she would be satisfied if she could hurt Yunjin even a little bit. Richard saw Lu Yan's actions and did not stop her when he had the ability to. That was because he wanted to be a hero and save the beauty. Yunjin would definitely be frightened by the situation just now. Yao Lily was surrounded by fans. Yunjin and C.E., who were standing next to Yao Lily, must have never encountered such a situation of being surrounded by so many people. Especially Yunjin, she would definitely be frightened. At this time, Richard originally wanted to take advantage of the chaos to grab Yunjin's hand and take her away from the riot before his identity was exposed, so that Yunjin would have a good impression of him. Richard thought that a delicate and beautiful girl like Yunjin would definitely be at a loss when encountering such a situation. Then, he would go over and grab her hand, taking her out of this terrifying place surrounded by people amidst the chaos. Jian would definitely be captivated by his extraordinarily handsome side. Richard was probably thinking too much. He would never have thought that Jian would be able to remain calm in the face of a large wave of people armed with machine guns. Now that she was surrounded by a group of weak people, how could she be afraid? Richard's idea was beautiful, but the reality was that after Jian calmly gave instructions to retreat, she turned around and led Xiao Yunzhu and Lin Wan away with CE without looking back. She gave instructions so well that it was as if she was born to be the ruler of the crowd. Richard originally wanted to chase after Jian and CE, but surprisingly, Jian and CE left his sight after a while. The crowd behind him quickly blocked Richard's path to catch up with him. I can't take it anymore. Jian, I have to go to the toilet again. My stomach hurts, Lin Wan said as she clutched her stomach when she followed Jian and CE to the boarding gate. You guys board the plane first. I'll be there in a while, Lin Wan said to Jian and CE before running to the toilet. Sister, let's board the plane. Xiao Yunzhu, who was grabbed by the collar by CE, was finally put down on the ground. He said excitedly to Jian and CE. Seeing that Xiao Yunzhu, Duan Li, and Duan Yu were so excited, Jian held Duan Li and Duan Yu's hands while CE grabbed Xiao Yunzhu's collar and boarded the plane first. Since they were traveling with Yao Lili and the other two superstars, Jian and the others had bought first-class tickets. Xiao Yunzhu and the other two each had a seat. There weren't many first-class passengers. Perhaps because Jian and the others boarded the plane earlier, there weren't many passengers on the plane. CE's seat was right next to Jian's, and he was holding Jian's hand tightly. Many planes could be seen through the window, so Xiao Yunzhu and the others were so excited that they couldn't care less about Jian and CE. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Yao Lili and Richard finally broke through the crowd and boarded the plane. Richard had just boarded the plane when he saw CE sitting next to Jian. He sat in his seat and leaned over Jian's body. He placed his long and slender hand on the back of Jian's head and leaned over Jian's chest. He lowered his head slightly. From afar, CE looked like he was lowering his head to kiss Jian. Richard immediately clenched his fists. At this moment, CE saw Richard's figure reflected in the plane's window. His thin lips curved, and he directly kissed Jian's alluring red lips in front of Richard and the others. CE was originally helping Jian tuck her hair behind her ear. However, when he suddenly kissed her, Jian couldn't react at all. She even accidentally let out a soft moan. Chapter 15-17. He did it on purpose. He had purposely kissed Jian in front of him. Richard was so angry that he almost vomited blood because of CE's actions. Richard entered the entertainment industry because of his interest. In addition, he had a strong background and was born handsome. Richard was undoubtedly a lucky man who had been kissed by God. In the entertainment industry, Richard had never hit a wall. Whether it was in love or in his career, Richard had always been a smooth-sailing person. But when it came to love, Richard had always been strict. He wanted to find a woman that he truly liked. Over the years, he had met and interacted with many women, but Richard had never met one that he liked. Until a week ago, when he saw Jian. That day, Jian stood in the distance. Her exquisite and beautiful face and figure were not as enchanting as Yao Lili's, nor were they as seductive as Lu Yan's. But Richard had never seen such a beautiful girl. Her figure, which was not considered tall, was just right for gold. Her face, which was not enchanting or seductive, had a hint of the purity and beauty of a young girl. Also, her small lips opened and closed. Richard admitted that he had never seen such a beautiful girl. So at that time, he was deeply fascinated by Jian and could not extricate himself. So much so that when he found out that Jian had a man and was even married, he did not want to give up. Richard was the Prince Charming in the hearts of countless girls. He sat on a country's property and was the real prince of H country. Whether it was his looks, wealth, identity, or status, he was an impeccable existence. In the past, if he liked any woman, she would try her best to climb into his bed. But now, He had hit a wall repeatedly. See, he had not really kissed Yun Jian's little mouth. In the end, he saw Richard coming in from outside the plane. Originally, he only wanted to tuck Yun Jian's hair behind her ear. But when Richard came in, he really kissed Yun Jian's little mouth in front of everyone. Yun Jian was kissed suddenly. The moment Ce kissed her, her eyes widened. After looking at Ce for 2 seconds, she closed her eyes. Knowing Ce's character of not giving up until he achieved his goal, Yun Jian simply reached out and kissed Ce back in front of Richard. Seeing this scene, Richard wanted to vomit blood even more. Most importantly, Xiao Yunzhu and the other 3 beside them noticed Yun Jian and Ce's actions. Yunzhu, Duan Li, and Duanya clapped their hands excitedly. It's kissing. Brother Ce and sister are kissing each other again. Kissing each other. When Richard heard this, he wanted to vomit blood even more. Did this mean that this was not the first time Ce and Yun Jian had done this? Ahem. Can't you guys watch the occasion? This is a public place, and there are people passing by. Kissing her in front of so many people, is that all you have? Richard resisted the urge to rush forward and pull Ce away. He tried his best to control his emotions and try to speak to Ce calmly. In the end, Richard gritted his teeth as he spoke to Ce. After hearing Richard's words, Ce finally raised his head and let go of Yun Jian's tender lips. Richard could clearly see the traces of Ce's kiss on Yun Jian's red lips. Richard clenched his fists again. On the other side, Ce smirked and retorted Richard with his lips curled into a smirk. We are legally married. It's legal for me to kiss her. Ce's slender fingers ran through Yun Jian's hair. When he spoke, his face was very close to Yun Jian's, but his words were directed at Richard. Ce said this smoothly. Just as he said this, Ce's lips curled again. This time, he turned to look at Yun Jian with his black eyes. His eyes revealed an endless amount of affection. After a pause, Ce spoke again shamelessly. This time, he directly said something that made Richard so angry that he almost couldn't stand. Chapter 15:18. The last part of Ce's words really infuriated Richard, driving him mad. Bed? He had sex with Yun Jian? When Yun Jian heard Ce say this so naturally with Xiao Yunzhu and the other 2 little cuties sitting next to them, she reached out and pinched Ce. This made Richard even crazier. Didn't Yun Jian's subtle action show that she and Ce had a good relationship? However, this was not the end of it. Xiao Yunzhu also joined in. Brother Ce and sister always play kissing on the bed, and they don't even let us watch. Shame, shame. Brother Ce and sister are having an affair. He. As soon as Xiao Yunzhu finished speaking, he was dragged by Duan Li and Duanya to run and play with all the seats on the plane. They were having a great time. The plane had not taken off yet. The airport in 1999 was not as strict as it was now, and there were some essential differences. Xiao Yunzhu's words almost made Richard explode. I'm going to the washroom, Richard said through gritted teeth. Ce sneered. At the same time, he did not let go of Yun Jian's hand. The moment the plane was about to take off, Lin Wan boarded the plane. Seeing Ce and Yun Jian together, Lin Wan was not surprised. She already knew about the relationship between Ce and Yun Jian. Originally, Ce did not have a seat. Lin Wan gave the seat to Ce, and Lin Wan squeezed in with Duanya. The airport in this era was not as strict as it was now. Lu Yin was the last to board the plane. As soon as Lu Yin boarded the plane, she was caught by Yao Lily. Lu Yin, what did you mean just now? Yao Lily's expression was very ugly. What do you mean? You're blocking me. Get out of my way. Lu Yin pushed the Yao Lily aside and walked over to her seat arrogantly. Yao Lily and Lu Yin had always been on bad terms. Today's incident had taught Yao Lily a lesson. Next time, he decided to guard against Lu Yin. From here to Country H, it would take about 10 hours by long-distance flight. 10 hours later, they finally arrived at their destination. H country is a very beautiful country. It is not poor. It is a highly developed capitalist country, famous for seawalls, windmills, tulips, and a tolerant social atmosphere. As soon as they got off the plane and walked out of the airport, Yunjian and the others could see the tulip lawn filled with eyeballs. The scenery in front of him was very beautiful, giving people a feeling that nothing could be more beautiful. The butler has sent someone to pick us up. They will be here soon. Richard had been looking at C.E. holding Yunjian's hand and said casually. As soon as he finished speaking, a large tour bus drove over. Everyone got on the bus and was led by Richard's butler to the royal courtyard of Country H, Richard's home. As soon as they entered the royal courtyard, even an international superstar like Liu Yin could not help but exclaim, "Oh my God, isn't this place too luxurious?" It's just like a castle. Hearing Liu Yan's praise, Richard turned to look at Yunjian. Richard looked as if he wanted to be praised by Yunjian. After all, the place he was most proud of was this huge royal courtyard of his home. This was completely a Western castle, a fairy tale world in girls' fantasies. Just when Richard looked at Yunjian with confidence and thought that Yunjian would definitely praise him, he heard Yunjian's indifferent voice. The famous royal courtyard of Country H is just SOSO. Yunjian's words were light, but in Liu Yan's ears, it immediately changed the meaning. Oh, what? Have you ever seen a place more luxurious than this? This is the royal courtyard of Country H. It's rare in the world. As an international movie star, I have been to so many places, but I have never seen a place more luxurious than this. You're just a teenage girl. Have you ever been to a place more luxurious than this? Chapter 15:19. Everyone could tell from Liu Yan's sarcasm that she disliked Yunjian. Everyone present didn't like Liu Yan's existence, but Richard was too embarrassed to drive her away. After all, Liu Yan was an international superstar and had won an International Best Actress award not too long ago. She had countless fans, and her current status in the international scene was not to be trifled with. Liu Yan was already prejudiced against Yunjian, so when Yunjian said what she said just now, Liu Yan was aggressive toward Yunjian. She was merely using Yunjian's words to oppress Yunjian. This place is indeed small and run down. See, he spoke before Yunjian could speak, his gaze fixed on Yunjian. Right after he said that, Liu Yan twitched her lips and was about to retort C.E., who was speaking up for Yunjian, when C.E.'s rich voice rang again. It can't even compare to the corner of Mai and Xiao Jian's newlywed room. C.E.'s ability to lie through his teeth was getting better and better. Even the most illusory things could be said to be true by him. Once he said that Richard's focus was no longer on the fact that his Country H's royal courtyard was being questioned. Instead, newlywed room? They even had a newlywed room. Although he knew that C.E. and Yunjian were legally married in Country, or since they had a marriage certificate in Country R, Richard still could not accept it. He had finally taken a liking to a woman, and she ended up doing everything with someone else. Cough, cough, cough. My father knows that you're coming and has ordered my mother to set up a banquet in the palace. Shall we go over now? Richard did not want to hear C.E. boasting about how loving he and Yunjian were, so he quickly changed the topic. Although Richard looked calm on the surface, his heart was actually broken. Seeing that he had achieved his goal, C.E. was satisfied. He held Yunjian's hand with one hand and Xiao Yunju with the other. Yunjian held Duan Li's hand, while Duan Li held Duanya's hand. The group of people walked towards the Country H's palace. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were walking in the palace. Looking around, if they had not been to places bigger and more luxurious than this, they would really think that this was the biggest and most luxurious place. The ruler of Country H was Richard's father, the king of Country H. Of course, Richard's father was busy dealing with the country's affairs every day. Trivial matters like entertaining guests or managing the palace naturally fell to Richard's mother. The royal palace of Country H was completely different from the royal palace of Country Z. The royal palace of Country H was completely built with Western architecture. It looked tall and powerful. As soon as she walked into the royal palace of H Country, Yunjian saw a graceful and luxuriously dressed woman sitting at a long table not far away. The table was about 10 meters long and there were all kinds of refreshments on it. As long as one looked from afar, one would know that this was definitely the style of a noble. The woman was wearing an exclusive queen's crown on her head. Needless to say, this woman was Richard's mother and also the queen of Country H, Marcia. You're back? The woman sat in a dignified manner. She looked up at Richard and asked in Country H's own language. Lu Yin, Lin Wan, and the others didn't understand. Mother, I'm back. These are my friends. After Richard greeted Marcia, the queen of Country H, he said calmly to Marcia, Yes, Suli has been thinking about you. Looking at the time, it's time for her to come downstairs, Marcia said. She was still talking to Richard in Country H's language. Suli was Richard's younger sister. As soon as Marcia finished speaking, Yun Jian raised her eyebrows. The next second, she saw a figure running down a spiral staircase somewhere in the palace. It was a delicate-looking little girl, about 11 or 12 years old. Chapter 15:20. Suli was Richard's younger sister. Yao Lily had been to H country before, because Yao Lily and Richard were close friends. Yao Lily had been to H country before, so Suli and Yao Lily had known each other for a long time. Suli liked Yao Lily very much, so when she saw Yao Lily, Suli immediately threw herself at her. Is this Miss Lu Yin who won the International Movie Queen Award recently? As the Queen of H country, Marcia was fluent in many languages. Chinese was the most common language, so, as the Queen of H country, Marcia was naturally fluent in it. At this moment, Marcia turned to Lu Yin and asked in Chinese, Beautiful queen I am. Lu Yin behaved appropriately in front of a person of high status. She first saluted Marcia with H country's etiquette and then replied politely, Sister Lily is my distinguished guest. She has been to our house before. Suli said to Marcia while holding one of Yao Lily's hands. Yes, Marcia was a very noble lady. Hearing Su Li's words, Marcia nodded at Su Li. As the Queen of H country, Marcia paid a lot of attention to her words and actions. After getting to know Yao Lily and Lu Yin, Marcia glanced at Yun Jian, Ce, and Lin Wan with her majesty as the queen. Seeing that Yun Jian and the others were not well-dressed and did not behave like the nobles in the palace, Marcia did not even bother to ask for Yun Jian and Ce's names. Marcia just turned to Richard and said to Richard in a polite manner, let your friend sit down and eat. In Marcia's words, it was obvious that she was the queen while Yun Jian and the others were lowly people. But this was normal. After all, Marcia was the Queen of H country. As the Queen of H country, of course, she was nobler than others. International stars like Yao Lily and Lu Yin had strong fans. Therefore, Marcia felt that only Yao Lily and Lu Yin could be counted as her distinguished guests. As for Yun Jian, Ce, and the rest, they were probably wearing street clothes. As the Queen of H country, of course Marcia would not point at Yun Jian and mock her like Peng Kai Wei. As the queen, she still had the demeanor of the Queen of H country. Yun Jian and Ce naturally felt that Marcia was mocking them. But Yun Jian and Ce did not care about Marcia's opinion did not matter. If it were not for Yao Lily, Yun Jian would have taken Xiao Yunju and the others to have fun. Before they started eating, Richard, who was sitting 3 meters away from Yun Jian, pointed at the dishes in front of Yun Jian and said, Yun Jian, the dish in front of you is called herring. It's a specialty of H country. You can try it. Richard still did not give up. Yun Jian's eyes flickered at that, but she did not respond. Marcia, the Queen of H country, who was also Richard's mother, saw that her son was so concerned about Yun Jian. She moved her mouth slightly. The etiquette of the palace made Marcia have the habit of eating without talking. Even if the sky fell down, she would eat first and then talk. As soon as Richard finished speaking, Ce, who was sitting next to Yun Jian, picked up a piece of herring with his chopsticks and fed it to Yun Jian. Yun Jian did not think much of it. She held Ce's chopsticks in her mouth and ate the piece of herring. Is it good? Ce stared at Yun Jian with his black eyes, as if he was the one who made the dish. When Richard saw this, he was so angry that he almost went berserk. Brother Ce is feeding my sister fish. I want it too. I want it too. Chestnut, Give me a piece. Little Yunju asked in anticipation when he saw Si Yi taking a piece of herring meat for Duan Li with his head tilted to look at her. I can't stand you. Can't you do it yourself? Duan Li said to Xiao Yunju in a playful tone. Chapter 1521. Duan Li fed the herring meat to Xiao Yunju's mouth. Xiao Yunju bit it and chewed for a long time before swallowing it. Of course, he also spat out the fish bones that could not be eaten. Seeing that Xiao Yunju had swallowed the herring meat she fed him, Duan Li shook her little head with 2 pigtails. She rested her chin on her hands and looked at Xiao Yunju. She smiled and asked Xiao Yunju, "Is it delicious?" This question was similar to what Si Yi asked Yunjian just now. Yunjian heard that Duan Li's question coincided with Si Yi's. She pursed her lips and did not say anything. It's delicious. Chestnut's food is the best. Xiao Yunju gave Duan Li a thumbs up. During the meal, except for the sentence that Richard said to Yunjian at the beginning, Yao Lily, Lu Yin, and the others all ate in their bowls and did not say anything. The nobles in the palace had stricter requirements than ordinary people when they ate. One of the rules was that they were not allowed to talk during the meal. Otherwise, it would be regarded as impolite. This was the opposite in Z country. Z country's custom was to talk while eating. If you did not talk for a minute, you would feel bored. Therefore, you must talk while eating. As for people in H country, it was taboo to suck, burp, and swallow during the meal. Otherwise, it would be regarded as impolite. On the other hand, Yunju and the other 2 boys sucked and burped, wolfing down the food when they were full. It was considered impolite. Ordinary people in H country would usually talk during the meal. However, in the palace of H country, talking was taboo during the meal. Therefore, what Xiao Yunju and the other 2, Yunjian and Si Yi, did just now made Queen Marcia frown. However, Marcia did not say anything as she adhered to the etiquette of not talking while eating. On the other hand, Xiao Yunju and the other 2 were fooling around. Marcia was terrified as she watched them. She felt that these 3 naughty kids would flip the table over. In fear, Marcia ended the meal unhappily. Then, in front of everyone, Marcia asked the maid to rinse her mouth with the prepared mouthwash. She spat the mouthwash back into the basin and wiped her face with a wet towel before standing up. Hee, it was so delicious. I'm so full. Duan Li rubbed her full belly and said to Xiao Yunju. Me too. Xiao Yunju stood up handsomely and said. Yunjian and Si Yi also stood up. Yao Lily and Lu Yin did not speak throughout the meal. They only spoke when they stood up and left the table. At this moment, Marcia, who could not bear it any longer, stood aside. Marcia calmed herself down and turned to look at Yunjian, Si Yi, and Xiao Yunju. She paused for a while and frowned. Are you Z people all so impolite when eating? Her words were full of contempt and mockery. Of course, as the queen, Marcia could not speak so directly to Yunjian and the others. After hearing Marcia's words, Yunjian raised her eyebrows slightly and was about to speak. Richard was afraid that Yunjian would annoy his mother and make things unpleasant. If that happened, he and Yunjian would not be able to get together in the future. Therefore, Richard spoke to Marcia before Yunjian could. Mother, this is the custom of the Z people. Please don't be offended. Let's go out for a walk. Anyone who comes is a guest. Anyone who comes is a guest. After hearing Richard's words, Yunjian's eyes turned cold. However, no one said anything at this moment. Although Marcia's expression was not good, as the Queen of H, she could not get angry. Therefore, Marcia controlled her emotions and turned to look at Lu Yan. She said kindly, You are Lu Yan, Yin, right? Do you want to go out for a walk? Marcia could tell that her son Richard liked Yunjian. However, in comparison, Marcia preferred someone like Lu Yan. Her son Richard was already very old. He was already 25 or 26 years old. However, he still had not found a girl that he liked. As his mother, Marcia could not help but feel anxious. On the other hand, Lu Yan was called out by Marcia. She was as excited as a maid in the harem who was appointed by the emperor. She quickly ran over and held Marcia's hand. Then, she said very politely, Okay, Beautiful queen, I will accompany you at any time. Marcia liked people like Lu Yin. Therefore, she patted the back of Lu Yan's hand and turned to walk out with Lu Yin. Halfway through, Marcia turned around again. In order to not lose her hospitality as the queen, Marcia invited Yin Jian, Ce, Yao Lily, and the others. Come and walk with me. Anyone who comes is a guest. Chapter 1522. Between the host and the guests, the host was usually very polite. Sometimes when the guests came, the host would even go to the gate to welcome the guests. Of course, this was only limited to the hosts who were very polite. However, Marcia gave people the feeling that she was the host. Her words were like orders that must be carried out because she was a superior person. Even in front of Yao Lily and Lu Yin, Marcia did not lower her attitude. Even though Yao Lily and Lu Yin were international superstars and the spokespersons of the top figures in the entertainment circle, from the beginning to the end, Marcia had always maintained her cold demeanor and had never changed. Of course, all this could be explained by the fact that she was the queen of Country H. As the queen of a country, she had to maintain her cold attitude. It's evening now. The weather here is not hot, so it's best to go out for a walk. The scenery in Country H is so beautiful. If you take the child out for a walk, she won't be exposed to the sun in this weather. At this time, Yao Lily stood in front of Yin Jian and said to her. At the same time, Yao Lily looked down at Yin Jian's pink little face. Okay, Yin Jian originally did not want to go out with Marcia and the others. However, after hearing Yao Lily's words, he said that the weather was not very hot at this time of the year. If she took the child out for a walk, she would not be exposed to the sun. Considering this point, Yin Jian nodded. If Yin Jian wanted to go, how could Ce not go? Xiao Yunju and the other two also went out with them excitedly. Of course, Marcia had a special car to pick her up when she went out for a walk. After all, if a queen went out for a walk without any attendants or bodyguards, what would happen if she was assassinated? The special car took them to a field of tulips near the royal palace of Country H. Tulips were planted by the road and in the field. There were also many herdsmen working in the field of tulips. This was a field of tulips, and there were windmills located not far from each other. Looking from the side of the road into the field, there were endless tulips. Tulips of various colors swayed in the field, giving people a very comfortable sense of beauty. In the evening sky, a red glow shone down from the horizon, hitting the cozy fields, giving people a very comfortable feeling. Walking in the field, Queen Marcia only allowed Lu Yin to hold her hand and chat with her while walking at the front. Yin Jian and the others followed behind. Richard wanted to approach Yin Jian, but was stopped by Ce. Because they were in a field, Xiao Yunju and the other two could run and jump as they pleased. As long as they didn't run into the road, they wouldn't be afraid of other accidents. At this time, Queen Marcia let Lu Yin hold her hand and walked in front. Marcia stopped in the middle of a tulip field. She turned sideways and suddenly asked the people around her on a whim, "What kind of specialties do you girls have?" Marcia looked at the girls around her. She wanted to choose a wife for her son, Richard, who could inherit the position of queen in the future. Beautiful queen, I know violin, piano, guitar, ballet, Latin dance. Lu Yin knew that Marcia liked her very much, so she deliberately moved closer to Marcia and said shyly, "But I'm not very good at these things. I'm still learning now. My family wasn't very rich in the past, so I just started learning these things now." Lu Yin said and slightly raised her head to look at Marcia. "Good girl. You're the best. If a person likes someone, they would be happy no matter what. But if a person didn't like someone, they would not be happy no matter what." Marcia patted the back of Lu Yan's hand and said gently. Yao Lily and Lin Wan also talked about their specialties. When Yun Jian was asked, Marcia looked at her from the corner of her eyes. "What about you? What kind of musical instruments do you know?" Marcia looked at Yun Jian with an indifferent look. She also didn't expect to hear Yun Jian's reply. Lu Yin glanced at Yun Jian coldly from the corner of her eyes. She thought that Yun Jian definitely didn't know anything and was a country bumpkin. But she didn't expect that Yun Jian's next words would directly stun Queen Marcia Lu Yin, and all the servants around them. Yun Jian sneered and said, "What I know? Heavy weapons, guns, artillery, missiles, nuclear weapons, tracking and anti-tracking. As long as you can name it, there's nothing I don't know." Chapter 1523. It was not hard to imagine that Queen Marcia was a typical literary person. In her mind, a girl should behave like a good woman. A girl should do something that was worthy of being a girl. She should behave herself at home and be good at music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. She should not be too close to men before marriage. Such a girl was the real standard of a future daughter-in-law in Marcia's eyes. Yun Jian and Ce were always together. Marcia did not know about the relationship between Yun Jian and Ce, so she did not have a good first impression of Yun Jian. Moreover, Yun Jian's dressing was not what a noble girl should look like. Therefore, she could tell that Yun Jian was definitely not from a noble family. Therefore, Marcia was instinctively repulsed when she found out that her son was interested in Yun Jian. Lu Yan's behavior was very similar to Marcia's standard of a daughter-in-law. However, her son liked Yun Jian, so it was difficult to make a choice. Therefore, Marcia asked the question just now. Even if Yun Jian knew one or two things that girls should do, Marcia felt that as long as her son liked Yun Jian, she could still consider Yun Jian. Lu Yan could play so many musical instruments, dance, and play. She was also an international superstar like her son. Marcia admired Lu Yan very much. Therefore, Marcia was very satisfied with Lu Yan as her daughter-in-law. As for Yun Jian, at most, she had the attitude that her son liked her, and she wanted to observe if she was qualified to be her daughter-in-law. However, Marcia did not expect that she only asked Yun Jian if she knew something that girls should know. In the end, Yun Jian actually said that she knew how to use heavy weapons, guns and cannons, missiles and nuclear weapons. She also said that she knew how to kill people. Marcia was completely shocked by Yun Jian's words. God, was this still something that a girl should say? Weapons, guns, and cannons. These are things that men should do. But what about Yun Jian? Yun Jian, on the other hand, actually knew how to use these terrifying weapons. Holding back the urge to faint, Marcia held Lu Yan's arm to hold hers so that she did not pass out from the shock of Yun Jian's words. Lu Yan was also shocked by Yun Jian's words. Of course, she was not really shocked. Instead, she thought that Yun Jian was stupid. She actually said that she knew those things. If this was not stupid, then what was? As she thought about it, she saw Marcia looking at Yun Jian in disbelief and asking at the same time, "What's the matter? Oh my God, you're just a little girl. Why did you say that you know so many terrifying weapons? You're just spouting nonsense on purpose, aren't you?" Marcia rubbed her forehead as she spoke. She had been queen for so many years, but this was the first time she had heard of such a dangerous thing from a young girl. Of course, Marcia did not believe that Yun Jian knew so many terrifying weapons. After hearing Marcia's words, Yun Jian raised her eyebrows slightly. She smiled coldly and said, "Nonsense. If it is not nonsense, then is it true?" Marcia felt that she could not communicate with Yun Jian. She felt that Yun Jian wanted to show off in front of her. She wanted to show that she was crazy, so she said that. Just when Marcia finished her sentence, she saw that Yun Jian, who was standing in front of her, suddenly flipped her hand and a butterfly knife appeared out of thin air. The butterfly knife swayed left and right and flashed past Marcia. It was so fast that Marcia did not even have time to react. By the time Marcia came to her senses, a few strands of her long hair had already been shaved off by Yun Jian with the butterfly knife. The speed of the blade was unparalleled. This change made Marcia's face turn pale. Lu Yan, Richard, and the group of servants around them were also shocked. When everyone looked up at Yun Jian, they saw Yun Jian with a cold smile and said coldly, Chapter 1524. Yun Jian had cut off Marcia's long hair with a butterfly knife. She was so fast that no one could react in time. In addition to what Yun Jian said later and the butterfly knife she held in her hand, it was hard to believe. Marcia was really frightened, even though she did not believe Yun Jian's words. You are looking down on the royal power. Put down the knife. Otherwise, the soldiers of Country H will charge you with murdering the queen and execute you. Marcia was really scared, but the queen's prestige that came from her bones made her unwilling to lower her head. Thus, Marcia shouted at Yunjian. Marcia's backer was the royal family of Country H. Other than that, she had nothing. In Marcia's mind, Yunjian was just an ordinary little girl from Country Z. She did not have the ability to fight against the royal family of Country H. Once the soldiers of Country H took action, how could she, Yunjian, survive? However, she did not know that Yunjian was not afraid at all. After hearing Marcia's words, Yunjian's smile became more obvious. She curled her lips and revealed a strange smile in front of everyone. You can try and see if your Country H soldiers are faster, or if I'm faster when I'm cutting your neck, Yunjian said coldly. Marcia trembled when Yunjian looked at her with her cold eyes. She did not know why. She did not believe that Yunjian could do anything to her, but when she met Yunjian's sharp eyes, she actually felt scared. After all, Marcia was the queen of Country Z. She could not afford to lose her face. Thus, after Yunjian finished her words, Marcia wanted to say something forcefully. However, this time, before Marcia could say anything, Richard pressed her shoulder. Mother, this is just a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Yunjian likes to joke. In Country Z, she is still underage. She is not sensible. Please forgive her. Richard was so scared that his face turned pale. The girl he liked quarreled with his mother. Was there still any hope for him? Marcia was actually scared by Yunjian. After Richard said that, Marcia immediately followed Richard's words and found herself an excuse. When Marcia was about to scold Yunjian with her status as the Queen of Country, she saw Ce holding Yunjian's hand and pulling Yunjian into her arms. Seeing this, Marcia was even more annoyed with Yunjian. She turned her head and wanted to find Lu Yin, but found that Lu Yin was not beside her. Where is she? Where did Lu Yin go? Sister, I don't know when Duanya is standing on the road. I'm afraid that a car is coming. Sister, can you quickly carry Duanya down? Duanli ran to Yunjian and said hurriedly to Yunjian. Xiao Yunzhu and Duan Li did not pay attention to Duanya for a while, and Duanya was standing on the road from the field. They did not know how Duanya got up there. There were a lot of cars on the road. It was very likely that an ignorant child would get into trouble if she stood on the road. No one saw that Lu Yin, who had disappeared for a while when Marcia and Yunjian were talking, had returned silently. When Yunjian heard Duan Li's words, her heart skipped a beat. Just as she turned around, she saw Duanya standing in the middle of the road in a daze. Not far away, a large truck was driving towards the middle of the road where Duanya was standing. The truck was very big and the driver's seat was very high. The driver was driving the truck and did not notice Duanya, who was standing in the middle of the road in a dazed and pitiful manner. Oh my God! At this moment, even Queen Marcia was shocked. If the truck ran over Duanya's small body, Duanya would definitely die. She might even be crushed into minced meat. Sister, Duanli saw this scene and screamed in fear. It's over, that child. That child is finished. Even the farmers who were farming nearby covered their eyes and did not dare to see what was going to happen next. Chapter 1525. The truck driver was sitting high up in the driver's seat, humming a song as he drove. He did not notice that not far from him, poor Duanya was blinking her eyes as she watched his truck drive over. Duanya did not have much experience, so she was not as witty as Duanli. Perhaps it was because she was born in a poor family and was beaten by her alcoholic father every day. So Duanya had developed a quiet and unreasonable personality. Even now, when the truck drove over, she did not know how many times to shout for help. She just blinked her eyes and stared blankly. Due to her young age, Duanya had no concept of death. The surrounding farmers were shouting for the driver of the truck to stop. However, the driver did not notice Duanya's existence at all. He was humming a song with his eyes closed. From the looks of it, the driver should be listening to music. The people standing around all let out terrified cries. It's over. This little girl is definitely done for. It's a truck. The entire truck is going to run over this little girl. Will she still be alive? Queen Marcia was so frightened by the sudden change that she closed her eyes. Her elegant and graceful posture had already turned pale at this moment. Luyan was also shocked. After all, the truck running over a little girl was extremely frightening just thinking about this scene. Richard was also so frightened that his face changed greatly. When everyone's expression changed greatly, a small figure suddenly flashed in front of them. The truck was less than 10 meters away from Duanya's position. Most of the people present closed their eyes, anticipating how bloody the next scene would be. Yunjian ran in that direction as if she was flying. Si did not move. Based on his understanding of her, she was strong enough to be unharmed. Therefore, Si grabbed Xiao Yunju and Duan Li's collars and did not let Xiao Yunju and Duan Li run over there and increase Yunjian's burden. The next moment, Yunjian's small figure stood in the field of tulips. With a kick of her left leg, she jumped onto the road. Then, without stopping, she ran towards Duanya's position. Her speed was comparable to a speeding sports car. Marcia and the others who were standing on the spot were completely dumbfounded. They felt that the reason why the driver didn't stop was that Duanya was too far away from the road where Duanya was standing. It should be known that it would take at least 30 seconds for a normal person to run from here to Duanya's position. What about Yunjian? She actually used a mere 6 seconds to rush in front of Duanya and grab Duanya in the next second. At this moment, the truck was already right in front of Yunjian. The driver suddenly noticed Yunjian and Duanya, but it was too late for him to turn the steering wheel in fear. Yunjian! After Lin Wan reacted, her eyes widened. She strode over there. Richard was also frightened, but he did not rush towards Yunjian. Queen Marcia was also terrified. No one dared to see the bloody scene. However, just when everyone thought that the truck was about to hit Yunjian and Duanya in the last 3 seconds, Yunjian and Duanya were about to be hit. Yunjian, who was about to be hit, grabbed Duanya with one hand. At the moment when the truck was about to hit them, she stomped hard on the ground and leaped up. Seeing this scene from afar, everyone thought that Yunjian was crazy. Then, in the next breath, Yunjian leaped 2 meters high. She landed on the glass of the truck, stepped on a dent in the truck, and jumped again with the help of gravity. In the second jump, Yunjian jumped more than 4 meters high. The truck was at most 8 meters high, so Yunjian easily jumped onto the roof of the truck. Without hesitation, she ran 2 steps from the roof of the truck, grabbed Duanya, and jumped down from the roof of the back of the truck, easily avoiding the disaster that almost happened. She jumped from the front of the truck to the roof of the truck, and then jumped down from the back of the truck. Yunjian directly jumped over a truck, and the whole process only took 5 seconds. Marcia, Richard, Lu Yin, and the others who were standing far away suddenly saw this scene. They were so scared that their faces turned pale. Yunjian could actually take people and avoid the collision of the truck at such a high speed. Chapter 1526. Oh my God, who is this little girl? Is she Superman? She jumped over the roof of the truck. Isn't this something that only Superman in fantasy can do? Oh my God, she is so awesome. She was simply a superwoman. This foreign girl is so awesome. The farmers who were sowing and combing the tulips in their fields were discussing Yunjian's actions in Country H's native language. Queen Marcia, who was standing in the distance, kept changing her expression. As the queen of the kingdom, Marcia had always maintained her calm and graceful demeanor as a queen. What Yunjian did just now, however, took Marcia by surprise. When Yunjian leaped over the roof of the truck and landed steadily to avoid the dangerous car accident with Duanya, Marcia was stunned. Marcia's eyes widened. She looked as if she had encountered something terrifying. This was the first time that Marcia lost her composure in front of others. Oh my God, Yunjian she. Richard also stared at Yunjian with fear. He was really frightened by Yunjian's skills, so he stammered and could not react for a long time. Lu Yan's face also darkened when she saw that Yunjian had saved Duanya and Yunjian, and that Duanya and Yunjian were unharmed. No one saw that Lu Yin clenched her fists tightly. Lin Wan, who was running towards Yun Jian, stopped when she saw this scene. Yao Lily observed the reactions of the people around her. She wasn't too surprised. Instead, she tilted her head slightly and patted Richard's shoulder. She said to Richard, "Don't worry. Hey, SS is much more powerful than this. Just a little thing, and you are all so scared. Ha ha." As soon as Yao Lily finished her words, Richard suddenly looked up at Yao Lily. No matter how powerful she is just a little girl. How powerful can she be? Lu Yin was not convinced. Besides, Yao Lily was not on good terms with her, so Lu Yin sneered at Yao Lily first. How could Yun Jian be so powerful? No matter how powerful she was just a girl. How powerful could a girl be? Lu Yin did not believe what Yao Lily said about Yun Jian wiping out a small organization. Yao Lily was so exasperated by Lu Yan's words that she wanted to reveal Yun Jian's identity and scare the latter. Yao Lily knew that Yun Jian's identity was related to the senior members of an Han organization. However, Yao Lily controlled herself. Yao Lily knew that Yun Jian's identity should not be exposed. You don't believe me? Just you wait. Yao Lily could not help but argue with Lu Yin again. Then, she stood aside and did not want to talk to Lu Yin anymore. Yao Lily really could not like a woman like Lu Yin. At this moment, everyone saw Yun Jian carrying Duan Yu slowly walking back from the other side of the road. After the initial shock, Marcia was a queen after all. Naturally, she had good leadership skills. Seeing that Yun Jian had returned, Marcia reverted back to her calm and graceful queen-like demeanor. Seeing Yun Jian carrying Duan Yu back, Marcia could not help but scold her. UZ people are not only rude when eating, even your children are not obedient. They run around everywhere. After that, Marcia turned to face Yun Jian with her back and extended her hand to Lu Yin, telling her, "Lu Yin, what do you think? Yin Yan, hold my hand. I'm tired. Let's go back to the palace." Marcia had just finished her sentence and reached out her hand to Lu Yin. Lu Yin saw this and did not respond. Suddenly, a fierce kick landed on Lu Yan's abdomen, knocking Lu Yin down on the spot in the tulip field. Queen Marcia only saw a shadow in front of her. When she came back to her senses, she saw that Yun Jian had already kicked Duan Yu to the ground, and the shadow flashed in front of Lu Yin. Chapter 1527. Marcia liked Lu Yin very much. How much did she like Lu Yin? Just now, Marcia wanted Lu Yin to help her back to the palace. Who was Marcia? She was the queen of H country. H country was not a backward country. As the queen of H country, not everyone was qualified to serve her. Marcia really wanted Lu Yin to be the future queen of H country. She wanted Lu Yin to be the lover of her son, Richard. Although Lu Yin was an actress, Marcia's own son, Richard, was also an actress. In the eyes of H country, being an actress was not an unspeakable occupation. Z country might have regarded actors and singers as improper occupations in the past. A long time ago, only those who looked slightly better but had a lower standard of living would choose to be an actress. H country changed their views earlier than Z country in this aspect. Therefore, Marcia did not mind if an actress became the queen of H country. When Marcia chose her son's future wife, she never considered whether the woman was clean or not. Instead, she considered whether the woman would benefit her son's future and development. Lu Yin had a bright future now. Her international status was almost the same as Richard's. The only difference was that one was a movie queen and the other was a movie king. One was a man and the other was a woman. Therefore, Marcia liked Lu Yin because of Lu Yan's background and support. Therefore, when Marcia reached out to Lu Yin to help her back to the palace, Yun Jian suddenly kicked Lu Yin into the tulip field. Then, she leaned over and put the shiny butterfly knife on Lu Yan's neck. Marcia was completely stunned. The people around did not understand why Yun Jian suddenly kicked Lu Yin into the tulip field. Marcia was even more confused. Of course, as the queen of a country, Marcia naturally could not reach out to help Lu Yin, who was kicked into the tulip field. Marcia just looked at Yun Jian from the corner of her eyes. Her eyebrows were almost knitted into a line. She suppressed her anger and told Yunjian that she could not be angry because she was the queen of country. She calmed herself down and said to Yunjian, "What are you doing? What plan? Let go of Yinyan. Yinyan is an honored guest of Country H. Don't tell me that you Z people like to fight for no reason." After hearing Yunjian's cruel words, Marcia did not take Yunjian's words seriously. Even when Yunjian saved Duanya from the truck and did such a terrifying thing, Marcia did not take Yunjian's words seriously. Murder? A little girl, like her, dared to kill someone? Was he delusional? Marcia was used to exerting her authority as the queen, so when she spoke to Yunjian, she sounded like she was giving orders. "That's right. Even the queen said so. Why did you hit me for no reason? Hurry up and put the knife away." When Lu Yin saw that Marcia was backing her up, she quickly spoke to Yunjian. Although she was afraid that Yunjian would place the butterfly knife on her neck for the sake of her pride, Lu Yin refused to give in. "Thanks to you, my sister was able to stand on the road just now. Do you really think that I don't dare to kill you?" Yunjian sneered. Just when Marcia, Lu Yin, Richard, and the rest thought that Yunjian would not really do anything to Lu Yin, the butterfly knife in Yunjian's hand was pushed a little harder towards Lu Yin's neck. Lu Yin was frightened by the sudden sharp pain and screamed. Blood gushed out, and Marcia and the rest's faces turned pale instantly. What? Yunjian's sister was able to stand on the road because of Lu Yin? This was not the point. Although Marcia was frightened by Yunjian, she remained calm. When she saw that Yunjian was pushing the butterfly knife in Yunjian's hand again, she raised her voice to Yunjian. "How dare you kill her in front of me? I even dare to kill you. Why wouldn't I dare to kill her?" Under Marcia's disbelieving gaze, Yunjian was still aggressive. Chapter 1528. Please, I beg you. Please don't kill me. I was wrong. Yunjian pushed the butterfly knife in her hand further, and Lu Yan's neck started to bleed. Perhaps Lu Yan was frightened, or perhaps it was because of the intense pain. Lu Yan immediately screamed and begged for mercy with all her strength. The neck was a fatal spot, and it was also the most difficult part to recover from. If she did not control her strength well enough, she could kill Lu Yan right away by pushing the knife against her neck like she was doing. Yunjian controlled her strength well. She pushed the butterfly knife into Lu Yan's neck, and Lu Yan would not die on the spot. Of course, if she was not treated, Lu Yan would die. However, Yunjian controlled the butterfly knife and pushed it into Lu Yan's neck. Lu Yan would not die for a while. Queen Marcia did not expect that Yunjian would dare to do it. Marcia, who had been pretending to be calm, could not help but stagger. She was obviously scared by Yunjian. Then Marcia could not even say a word. Perhaps it was because Marcia had taken Yunjian's "I even dare to kill you. Why would I not dare to kill her?" seriously. She did not utter another word as she stood on the side. Yunjian then turned her eyes to Lu Yan. "Yun." Richard wanted to say something, but stopped when he saw Yunjian's cold eyes. "Say it. Why did you set my sister up?" Yunjian pushed the butterfly knife deeper into Lu Yan's neck every time she said a word. Although there were many bodyguards and servants around her, Marcia did not dare to say anything. Marcia, as the queen of H country, had a strong aura. However, compared to Yunjian, she was far behind. Even the people around felt that Yunjian was being ridiculous. Did Lu Yin set Duanya up? Was it Lu Yin who made Duanya stand on the road? Even if the people around didn't believe that Lu Yin was behind Duanya's incident, they had to hold their breath and look at Yunjian. Just when Marcia and everyone else thought that Lu Yin was wrongly accused, in order to save her own life, Lu Yin did not care about anything else. She immediately spilled out everything that had happened to her. I was wrong. Let me go. I'm just jealous. I'm jealous that you're able to obtain Prince Desmond's love. I didn't mean it. I was wrong. Don't kill me. As long as you don't cough. Don't kill me. Whatever Prince does, I'll give it all to you. I won't pretend to be a lady in front of the queen anymore. Cough. As long as you let me go. Lu Yin was so scared that she started to talk nonsense. At this moment, Lu Yin could not think of anything else. Her mind was only filled with fear. What? Queen Marcia was shocked when she heard Lu Yan's words. So what Lu Yan did just now was all an act. Queen, as Richard's friend, I have to say that Lu Yan's current achievements were all due to her subterfuge. Yao Lili also said to Marcia. Yao Lili would not say anything more. He had already said what he wanted to say. What happened next would depend on Marcia's own opinion. Sure enough, as soon as Yao Lili finished his words, Marcia's face turned even uglier. Yun Jian did not kill Lu Yan. In the end, Lu Yan was sent away by the paramedics. If it was in her previous life, Yun Jian would definitely slit Lu Yan's throat. However, she did not do so now. That was because she had found a better way to punish her. If a person died, everything would be over. What else could be more painful than living a life worse than death? If a person died, there would be nothing left. Since Lu Yan dared to lay her hands on Duanya, Yun Jian would definitely ruin her reputation and make her live a life worse than death. She would not die a quick death like this. The deep scar on Lu Yan's neck was destined to leave a scar. It also meant that her glorious career in the entertainment industry would not last long. How dare someone lay their hands on Yun Jian's people? Chapter 1529. Lu Yan's matter came to an end. Lu Yan, who was sent to the hospital, was not well-liked, so no one was willing to accompany her. At first, Queen Marcia had a good impression of Lu Yan, but now it was all gone. Not to mention promoting Lu Yan to be the future queen of H country. Marcia was not even willing to let Lu Yan enter the palace. Marcia was a very realistic person. She could like someone in an instant, but she could also hate someone in an instant. The like here had nothing to do with love. As for Yun Jian, Marcia did not say anything and left on her own. In the evening of the same day, Yun Jian took Xiao Yunju, the 3 children, and Ce to play in the tulip field until late at night. Lin Wan, Yao Lili, and Richard also followed Yun Jian and the others to walk in the tulip field. Rather than following Yun Jian and the others, it was better to follow Xiao Yunju and the other 2 children. Xiao Yunju and the other 2 children were very noisy. They jumped around in the tulip field and had a lot of fun. Yun Jian kept following them because she was worried that they would run to places where they should not run and fall. He put his hands in his trouser pockets and followed wherever Yun Jian went. Ce's handsome face, which usually did not show any smile all year round, now had a doting smile as if he had eaten honey. If one looked carefully, they would find that Ce was looking at Yun Jian, who was chasing Xiao Yunju and the other 2 children. Even Lin Wan, Yao Lili, and Richard, who were following behind, could feel his doting smile. Seeing this, Richard clenched his fist again, and his pupils shrank. It was not until Xiao Yunju and the other 2 children were lying on the side of a tulip field, panting and resting, that Yun Jian stopped. The others who had been following behind also came up. Lin Wan and Yao Lili walked up to Yun Jian. Lin Wan looked at Ce and then at Yun Jian and said to Yun Jian, "Yun Jian's sister Lily and I are going to the market near H country. We won't disturb your family anymore." Hey! After Lin Wan described Yun Jian, Ce, and Xiao Yunju as a family, she did not wait for Yun Jian to react. She quickly turned around and grabbed Yao Lili, and the 2 of them flew away, not knowing when, from a commoner who looked at the superstar, Yao Lili, with Yao Lili, sister Lily. By the time Yun Jian realized what Lin Wan meant by family, Lin Wan and Yao Lili had already run far away. Then Yun Jian's face turned slightly red. After Lin Wan and Yao Lili left, there was only one outsider, Richard. But Richard had no intention of leaving at all. When Lin Wan said that Yun Jian, Ce, and Xiao Yunju were a family, Richard almost went berserk. He felt that he could not control himself. He liked Yun Jian, whether she was married or not. He wanted her. As the Prince of H country, Richard could have anything he wanted. This was the first time that he could not get something. So he was very persistent. When he thought of this, Richard felt that he had to start with the most basic conversation with Yun Jian. Just as Richard turned around to talk to Yun Jian, he saw Ce standing in front of Yun Jian. He held Yun Jian's head, bit his lean back slightly, and kissed Yun Jian's rosy lips. Seeing this scene, Richard almost rushed over. But that was not all. He held Yun Jian's head with one hand and hugged Yun Jian's waist with the other. He pressed Yun Jian down on the tulip field. Chapter 15:30. He pressed Yun Jian down on a patch of tulips. The patch of tulips that had fallen down seemed to have formed a natural bed for and Yun Jian. Other than the patch of tulips that was pressing down on Yun Jian, the other tulips on the field were still standing. The tulips weren't short. If someone were standing far away, they wouldn't be able to see the scene of pressing down on Yun Jian. However, Richard was standing less than 5 meters away from Yun Jian and Richard could clearly see that was kissing Yun Jian's lips and pushing Yun Jian down on the tulips. The two of them were in close contact, as if the clouds were a house and the earth was a bed. This scene made Richard want to die. Richard clenched his fists tightly and was so angry that his face was about to turn green. But what was worse was that Yi's hand, which was wrapped around Yun Jian's waist, slid from Yun Jian's back to her front. His large, well-defined hand even grabbed onto Yun Jian's ample bosom through her thin clothes. This scene made Richard so angry that he almost vomited blood. You guys, stand up. Richard couldn't hold back and took a big step forward. His handsome face revealed a fierce expression. Oh, you haven't left yet. Yi's handsome face, which angered both men and gods, curved his lips slightly. After hearing Richard's words, he didn't pull Yun Jian up. Instead, he rubbed Yun Jian's ample bosom even harder. Yun Jian was kissed by and had her sensitive area grabbed. Her rosy face couldn't hide her embarrassment, and she couldn't help but let out a soft moan. At this moment, Richard was about to explode from anger. Get up! Get up! Richard took another big step forward and shouted. His upbringing as a prince told him that he could not go up and pull off Yun Jian directly. It was impolite. Richard could only stand beside Yun Jian and and shout at them. Xiao Yunju and the other two were playing hide and seek in the distance, so they didn't see this scene. The three children were having a lot of fun. Kissed Yun Jian in front of Richard for more than 10 minutes before he raised his head and cast a sidelong glance at Richard. Yi's handsome face made Richard feel inferior. But what could he do? He was the Prince of Country H and held a high position. Many women were waiting to climb into his bed. He was just a little more handsome than him. Moreover, he was also a handsome man. He was even an international superstar and an award-winning actor. Hurry up and get up, you two. Richard clenched his fists and said to in a muffled voice. If it wasn't for his manners as a Prince of Country H, Richard would have rushed forward. When heard Richard's words, his handsome face curved into a smile. I'm flirting with my wife. If you say get up, we'll get up, okay? At this moment, looked down at Yun Jian. He shamelessly grabbed Yun Jian's ample bosom in front of Richard. There are tulips planted where you're lying. You're destroying the environment. So get up now. Otherwise, I'll punish you for destroying the environment according to Country H's laws. Richard dared not expose his thoughts directly, so he could only come up with an excuse. After Richard said that, he stood up from Yun Jian and reached out to help Yun Jian up. Xiao Jian, slow down. I'll help you up. Seeing that was probably frightened by what he said, Richard breathed a sigh of relief. It looked like he still had a chance to snatch Yun Jian away from Just as Richard thought about it, spoke again. Was helping Yun Jian up slowly from the tulips and said something that made Richard puke blood. Chapter 15:31. Yi's ability to lie through his teeth wasn't just for show. He slowly helped Yun Jian up without blushing or skipping a beat, as though he was afraid that Yun Jian would fall. It was as though Yun Jian was really pregnant. After helping Yun Jian up, pulled Yun Jian's little hand and pulled Yun Jian into his embrace. Then, C. E placed a slender palm on Yun Jian's abdomen in front of Richard and gently stroked it twice, as though there really was an unborn baby inside. Richard stretched out his trembling hand and pointed at Ce. This time, he was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. However, before Richard could vomit blood, Ce grabbed Yun Jian's little hand and walked around Richard. He then called for Xiao Yunzhu and the other two to leave. Yun Jian's face was slightly red. She pursed her lips and thought to herself that Ce's skin was getting thicker and thicker. She was really afraid that one day, his lies would reach a whole new level. Seeing Ce leave with Yun Jian's little hand, Richard, who was standing in the distance, clutched his chest. Richard felt as though blood was about to spurt out of his chest from anger. However, this wasn't the end. Xiao Yunzhu and the other two circled around Ce, and Yun Jian. Perhaps because Xiao Yunzhu had overheard Ce's words, Xiao Yunzhu was now looking at Ce, and Yun Jian with eyes full of anticipation. From afar, Richard could still hear Xiao Yunzhu asking Ce in a loud voice, "Big brother Ce, when will big sister give birth to a little Ce for us to play with?" "Yay, yay, yay. A little Ce will definitely be very good looking." Xiao Yunzhu's words were like a sharp sword that almost pierced Richard's heart. Richard clutched his chest. This time, he really couldn't take the blow anymore. He knelt on one foot in the tulip field and almost vomited blood. But even so, it didn't change Richard's desire for Yun Jian. Men were all cheap. This sentence wasn't wrong at all. The more he couldn't have something, the more Richard wanted it. The more he couldn't have Yun Jian, the more he wanted her. He wouldn't give up until he had Yun Jian. In the evening, after playing in the tulip field for more than an hour, Xiao Yunzhu and the other two were tired and went to bed early. They slept in the palace at night. After arranging a room for Xiao Yunzhu and the other two, Yun Jian and Ce returned to their own bedroom. Richard had specially arranged for 2 bedrooms for the two of them, but Ce didn't care. He directly followed Yun Jian into her bedroom. When Richard heard this news, he was so angry that he almost spat out his dinner. Scram! Richard had maintained the image of a prince for so many years, but this time it finally collapsed. He grabbed a teacup and directly threw it at the servant who reported to him that Yun Jian and Ce were sleeping in the same room. What made her so angry? At this moment, Queen Marcia walked in from outside Richard's room. She waved her hand and signaled the servant to leave the room. Then, she stood in front of Richard. "Mother." Richard wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by Marcia. Don't say it. Mother knows," Marcia said. Speaking of this, Marcia was reminded of Yun Jian's terrified expression back then. She also remembered how Yun Jian helped her see through Lu Yan's true colors. Marcia turned her head and asked Richard, Mother wants to ask you something. Do you have to have her?" "Yes." "Mother, don't tell me you," Richard said in surprise. Before Richard could finish his words, Marcia waved her hand. Chapter 1532. No one else heard the conversation between Marcia and Richard except for them. The next morning, Yun Jian wanted to get up at around 5 or 6 o'clock. Yun Jian wanted to go for her morning exercise, but Ce stopped her. Yun Jian was puzzled. She did not understand why Ce stopped her from going for her morning exercise. However, after Ce finished his next sentence, Yun Jian decided to give up on the idea of going for her morning exercise. "You want to go for your morning exercise? Satisfy me, and I'll let you go." As Ce spoke, he wrapped his long arm around Yun Jian's waist. Yun Jian's breasts were very voluptuous. When Ce wrapped his arm around Yun Jian's waist, he could feel the softness of her large lower body. This made him even more unwilling to let go. After hearing Ce's words, Yun Jian did not dare to move anymore. Especially after hearing what Ce said in the tulip field, Yun Jian was really afraid that Ce would do something to her. It was not that she did not like Ce to do something to her, but she was afraid. That's right, Yun Jian was not afraid of getting hurt, but when it came to this kind of thing, especially when it came to see who she liked, she was really shy and afraid. Cough, cough. Good girl. Yi felt Yun Jian's slight tremble. He curved his handsome face and revealed a devilish and charming smile behind Yun Jian's back. He reached out and stroked Yun Jian's head, something that belonged to him. He would take it for himself one day, completely and completely. And that day wasn't far from now. He was already 20 years old. It was time to have an heir. If Yun Jian heard Yi's inner thoughts, Yun Jian would probably facepalm again. At around 8:00 in the morning, Yun Jian and Yi were ready to get up. When Yun Jian and Yi changed their clothes and went to the palace hall, they saw Xiao Yunzhu and the other two playing happily with Su Li. Su Li was Marcia's daughter and also Richard's sister. Su Li had a good relationship with Yao Lily before, but for some reason, she was playing happily with Xiao Yunzhu and the other two. Moreover, she was a princess of country. Although she was a princess, she did not have the airs of a princess. She was forced to learn Chinese from a young age, so she was able to communicate normally with Xiao Yunzhu and the other two. Even Yao Lily and Lin Wan felt happy when they saw this scene. These four children have been playing together since early in the morning. Su Li is a very nice child. Previously, Su Li would smile whenever she saw me. Now that she's playing with the other three children, she's too lazy to talk to me. Yao Lily stood beside Yun Jian and said to Yun Jian. At this point, Yao Lily added sourly, as if he was angry that Su Li had Xiao Yunzhu and the other two friends and was ignoring him, an old friend. Yun Jian knew that Yao Lily was trying to say something. Although Su Li was Marcia's child, her personality was completely different from Marcia's. Yao Lily was trying to say that Xiao Yunzhu and the other two would be fine if they played with Su Li. Yun Jian nodded. Sister, brother Yi. Su Li just said that there's a very fun theme park nearby. It is different from the ones we used to play in. Can we go there today? Duanli ran over and held Yun Jian's hand. She shook it gently and acted like a spoiled child. Xiao Yunzhu also ran over and held Yi's hand. Just as he held Yi's hand, Xiao Yunzhu suddenly realized that brother Yi always listened to his sister. Therefore, Xiao Yunzhu threw away Yi's hand and ran over to Yun Jian with anticipation. Sister, let's go and play now, okay? Xiao Yunzhu also looked at Yun Jian with anticipation. Seeing Xiao Yunzhu, Duan Li, and Duan Ye's expectant faces, how could Yun Jian refuse? Chapter 1533. Yay. That's great. Let's go play. Let's go to the amusement park. Xiao Yunzhu and the other two clapped excitedly and jumped up and down. Su Li was older than Xiao Yunzhu and Duan Li, so she didn't do the childish thing of clapping and cheering when she heard something that made her happy. Su Li was quite excited when she saw Xiao Yunzhu and the other two being so excited. They could go to the amusement park again. However, in order to make herself look more mature, Su Li stood on the side and grinned at Xiao Yunzhu and the other three. You guys are so childish. You should learn to be more mature like me. Finally, with Xiao Yunzhu and the other two skipping forward, the group arrived at the amusement park. Richard might have gotten his mother's approval, but he didn't want to see Yi and Yun Jian being intimate, so he didn't go with them to the amusement park. Richard didn't go with them, which was quite surprising, but no one noticed it. Yao Lily and Lin Wan went with them, but before they went, they secretly agreed to stay away from Yun Jian and Yi when necessary. They couldn't ruin their family's beautiful fun. Only Yun Jian, Yi, Xiao Yunzhu, Su Li, Yao Lily, and Lin Wan went. Su Li was the princess of Country H, so when the group went out, Su Li called her own car to send Yun Jian and the others, including herself, to the amusement park nearby. The amusement park located near Country H's palace was translated into Country Z's Chinese, Pleasure Island Amusement Park. Of course, Pleasure Island Amusement Park was only translated into Country Z's Chinese name. It was called differently in Country H's language. At this moment, Su Li's private car had already brought Su Li, Yun Jian, and the others to the entrance of the amusement park. Pleasure Island Amusement Park was a fairy tale-themed amusement park. Therefore, Most of the people who came to Pleasure Island Amusement Park were from rich families all over the world. Usually, parents would bring their children here to play. Of course, this was H country. In the Pleasure Island Amusement Park, the majority of people were from H country. The Pleasure Island Amusement Park also had a great influence in the world. Therefore, there were many people from all over the world who came here to travel and play. As soon as they bought the tickets and walked into the Pleasure Island Amusement Park, Yun Jian and the others saw many other tourists from Z country having fun. Sister, let's take a pirate ship, a merry-go-round, and Xiao Yunju rattled off a bunch of games in one breath. Looking at Xiao Yunju's expectant look, Yun Jian pursed her lips slightly. You guys go ahead. I'll wait for you outside. See, he wasn't interested in these kinds of amusement park games. However, as long as he looked at Yun Jian, even if it was a game that he had no interest in, he could still enjoy it. Don't. Big Brother C.E. come too. Big Brother C.E. come too. Xiao Yunju pulled on C.E.'s hand and swayed. Sister, Big Brother C.E. he doesn't want to go. Xiao Yunju saw that C.E. didn't compromise, so he turned his big round eyes to Yun Jian and said pitifully, "Let's play together." Yun Jian's red lips curved slightly. She looked sideways at C.E. and said, "Okay." Almost as soon as Yun Jian said that, C.E. agreed. The speed of his reply couldn't be faster. Xiao Yunju was satisfied and jumped around happily with Duan Li and Duanya. Su Li added on from the side. Her words were directed at Xiao Yunju and the others. Your brother and sister are so loving. They treat you so well. They even accompany you to the amusement park to play. When she said this, a trace of envy flashed across Su Li's eyes, along with an imperceptible sense of depression and loneliness. Yeah, Big Brother C.E. and sister treat us so well. Xiao Yunju responded at this time. As they spoke, the group walked towards the amusement park. Chapter 1534. There were many dangerous games in the amusement park that children were not allowed to play. The game equipment in the amusement park didn't depend on the age of the child, but the height of the child. Generally, thrilling games like the roller coaster were not allowed to participate in those who were under 4 meters tall. This was a matter of life and death, so naturally, they couldn't be careless. In front of every ride, there was a height measuring scale placed to stop children who were not tall enough to avoid accidents. For example, Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Duan Ye's age, there weren't many games that they could play in the amusement park, and thrilling games were even more forbidden. Therefore, Yun Jian's first stop was to bring Xiao Yunju and the other two to the merry-go-round. There were many people lining up to play the merry-go-round, especially since the Happy Island Amusement Park was a very popular large-scale amusement park. Rides like the merry-go-round were accessible to children of any age. In the amusement park, most of the people who came to play were adults who accompanied their children. Therefore, for a ride like the merry-go-round, which was accessible to children of any age, there were naturally many people lining up to play. There was a long line here. Sister, there are so many people. Xiao Yunju pouted, pulled Yun Jian's clothes, and said, "In." Yun Jian nodded lightly. The waiting area was full of people. It was not difficult to see that the amusement park's merry-go-round was quite popular. Yun Jian and the others' luck was not particularly good. When they entered the amusement park, the first game they played was about half an hour in line before it was their turn. Seeing that it was their turn to play in the next round, Xiao Yunju waited for a long time. He stretched out his hand to move his limbs. There were too many people standing in line here. There were people standing in front and behind. Xiao Yunju stretched out his hand to move his limbs. Just as he stretched out his hand, he accidentally hit a boy who was about the same age as Xiao Yunju standing in front of him. Rather than hitting, it was more like accidentally touching the boy's cheek with his hand. "What are you doing?" The boy standing in front of him was from Z country. It seemed that he was impatient from waiting. Now that Xiao Yunju had accidentally touched his cheek, he was furious on the spot and turned his head to look at Xiao Yunju fiercely. There was a man and a woman beside the boy. It wasn't hard to tell that the man and woman standing beside the boy were his parents. The boy's father was an average-looking man with a belly bigger than a beer. Every time he breathed, one could clearly see his fat belly tremble. The boy's father should be in his 40s. The boy's mother was very young. She was only in her mid-20s. If one didn't take a closer look at the similarities between the boy and the woman, it would be hard to tell that the woman was only 25 or 26 years old, but she was already the mother of an 8-year-old boy. It was even harder to tell that this woman and this man in his 40s were husband and wife. Xiao Yunju was shocked by the boy's roar. Xiao Yunju realized that he had accidentally touched the boy's cheek. It was his fault. The teacher said that he had to apologize if he accidentally touched the boy. "I'm sorry, I accidentally touched you." Xiao Yunju hurriedly apologized to the boy. "What's the use of apologizing? Whose child are you? How dare you hurt my Fu? Didn't your mother teach you how to behave? Really, I don't even know if this wild child has any bacteria on his hands. It's so dirty." Before the boy could speak, the boy's mother, who was in her mid-20s, pushed Xiao Yunju away. She squatted down beside the boy and scolded him while wiping his face. While wiping the boy's face, the woman scolded, "Children nowadays only know how to apologize. Do they think that they are very polite?" Chapter 15:35. As the woman scolded, she also called her son, which was the boy's nickname. The boy's nickname was Fu Er, and his name was Zhang Laifu. It was a very tacky name, but the woman said it smoothly. The woman's name was Fan Xin, and she was 25 years old. Fan Xin was Zhang Laifu's biological mother. She was quite good-looking, and there was nothing to say about her looks. When she was in high school, she was the school belle. Because Fan Xin was not good at her studies and was a gangster, after she had a few boyfriends, she was taken in by Zhang Laifu's father, who was a middle-aged man in his 40s. The lump of fat on his stomach was so big that it was about to fall off. At that time, Zhang Laifu's father, the man named Zhang Shan, was already married. Fan Xin became Zhang Shan's mistress when she was 16 years old. Zhang Shan was the kind of man who came from the countryside to the big city and gradually developed his business. When Fan Xin was 16 years old, he already had a business. After Fan Xin seduced Zhang Shan, she got pregnant in less than a year and secretly gave birth to the child. After Zhang Shan became rich, he divorced his first wife and married Fan Xin. Fan Xin successfully became the mistress. In addition, when Fan Xin walked out, she did not feel that she was a mistress at all, so she felt inferior. On the contrary, she felt that she was great and powerful, better than her peers. Classmates of her age were still starting their own businesses after marrying their husbands. But what about her? She married her husband. Although she was a little old and was already in her 40s, she not only had a car and a house, but she also had a business. When she was free, she could even take her and the child out to play. Fan Xin was proud of this. She even advised her best friend more than once that as a woman, she should find a man who was more than 10 years older than her, who had a car, a house, and a business. Who cared if he had a wife or not? She would date him first, because in the eyes of her friends, Fan Xin felt that her life was the most fulfilling. After being a rich madam for so many years, Fan Xin had a habit of looking down on others. Therefore, when Xiao Yunju accidentally touched Zhang Laifu's face with his hand, Fan Xin felt that her son's face had been dirted by something dirty, and she started to shout. Fan Xin was still half squatting on the ground, scolding as she wiped her son's face. Halfway through, a beautiful hand grabbed Fan Xin's wrist and forcefully pulled her up from the ground. Fan Xin was suddenly grabbed and did not react for a moment. By the time Fan Xin realized what was going on, she was already looking at Yin Jian's seemingly emotionless and icy face. "My brother accidentally bumped into your son. It's my brother's fault. My brother has already apologized. You pushed my brother just now, so you have to apologize too." Yin Jian grabbed Fan Xin's wrist and said coldly. Xiao Yunju had accidentally slapped her face and apologized. Yin Jian naturally wouldn't say anything. After all, Xiao Yunju had really touched her cheek. But just now, Fan Xin pushed Xiao Yunju away. If Yunjian hadn't stood behind Xiao Yunju and supported Xiao Yunju's little head would have hit the railing next to him. Oh my, why should we apologize? What's wrong with me pushing him? He couldn't reject it, could he? Huh. Fan Xian's wrist was grabbed by Yunjian. After struggling twice to no avail, she glanced at Yunjian coldly, without any remorse for doing something wrong. Apologize. Yunjian didn't say anything else. She just repeated these two words, and then the strength of her hand increased slightly. It hurts. Let go of me. Fan Xian's wrist was grabbed by Yunjian, and the bones creaked. She was frightened, so she quickly shouted, "Let go of my wife's hand." Seeing this, Zhang Shan stood behind Fan Xian and shouted at Yunjian. Seeing that Yunjian seemed to be a martial artist and was quite powerful, Zhang Shan didn't dare to rush up. Apologize. Yunjian still repeated these two words. At the same time, Fan Xian's wrist made a cracking sound. I was wrong. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Fan Xian was frightened by the severe pain and quickly begged for mercy. This wasn't a big deal, and Yunjian didn't want to make a big deal out of it. So Yunjian's eyes darkened, and she immediately let go. Mom! Zhang Laifu on the other side grabbed Fan Xian, then raised his eyes and glared at Xiao Yunju and Yunjian. Chapter 1536. At this moment, the entrance to the merry-go-round opened. After waiting for about half an hour, it was finally Yunjian and the others' turn. Yao, Lily, and Lin Wan had gone to play other exciting games, so now only Yunjian and Si Yi were with the four children. Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, Duanya, and Su Li. As soon as the entrance to the merry-go-round opened, the unhappiness from before was thrown to the back of their minds. Fan Xian shook her wrist that was grabbed by Yunjian. She was surprised. Why wasn't her hand hurt? And she didn't feel any pain at all? There wasn't even a trace of being pinched? Because the entrance to the merry-go-round was already open, Fan Xian didn't feel any pain on her wrist. So she quickly grabbed her son, Zhang Laifu, and called her husband, Zhang Shan, and ran to the entrance of the merry-go-round. No one saw Zhang Laifu fiercely glare at Xiao Yunju. His eyes were full of anger, as if he wanted to kill Xiao Yunju. The merry-go-round was quite fun. At least Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, Duanya, and Su Li had a lot of fun. After the game ended, Su Li stretched her body and said to Xiao Yunju and the others happily, "It's great to be in an amusement park. It's the first time someone accompanied me to an amusement park. Dad has to deal with a lot of government affairs every day. Mom doesn't want to accompany me to the amusement park. In the past, it was only the attendants who accompanied me to the amusement park. Thank you." Su Li's eyes were full of emotion. At the same time, hidden in Su Li's eyes was an undetectable and unfathomable loneliness. "We'll play with you in the future." Xiao Yunju and the others blinked. They looked at Su Li with their innocent eyes and smiled at her. Really? Su Li looked up at Xiao Yunju and the others and asked with a trembling voice. "Of course it's real. Let's go play other games." Xiao Yunju and the others were ready to move. Then they pulled Su Li to other places. "Let's go play the pirate ship. Sister will play the pirate ship with us." Yay, yay, yay. At this time, Xiao Yunju and Duan Li seemed to have found a new goal. They pulled Yunjian and shouted excitedly. The pirate ship was a more exciting game. Although the pirate ship did not sway too much, if you were to sit on the pirate ship, you would feel like your heart was about to be shaken out of your body. Especially when it swayed from side to side more and more violently. It felt like if a person was sitting on a pirate ship without a seatbelt and enhanced safety features, they would be thrown off. In the amusement park, you would find that the more dangerous the game, the more complicated the safety measures. Because the pirate ship was a very exciting game, there was a limit to the height of the players. The island's height. SSSSS. Is SSSSS. Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Su Li wanted to experience the thrill of the pirate ship. Yunjian had to let Duanya stand there and let Si Yi look after Duanya. Yunjian accompanied Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Su Li. Because the pirate ship was exciting and the children's height was limited, there weren't many people waiting in line to play the pirate ship. Yun Jian and the others waited for 5 minutes before they could go up. "It's you, huh?" Just as Yun Jian brought Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Su Li onto the pirate ship, a groan came from behind. Yun Jian turned her head and saw Fan Xian, who had a small conflict with Yun Jian, holding her son Zhang Laifu's hand. You dare to come here to play the pirate ship? Don't cry later and go home to your mother." Fan Xian's husband, Zhang Shan, was afraid of playing the pirate ship. Therefore, Fan Xian brought her son Zhang Laifu onto the pirate ship. Chapter 1537. Fan Xian obviously said that to Yun Jian on purpose. Her original intention was to anger Yun Jian. Yun Jian's hand just now hurt Fan Xian. Although Fan Xian didn't feel the pain at all after Yun Jian let go, Fan Xian was a vengeful person. "Get out of the way. Coward. I'll wait to see you cry later." "Huh. Get out of the way," Fan Xian said. She grabbed Zhang Laifu's hand and swaggered past Yun Jian to the pirate ship. Yun Jian ignored Fan Xian and Fan Xian's son. An ordinary pirate ship could seat 4 or 5 people in a row, but the pirate ship in the amusement park was bigger. It could seat 6 people neatly in a row. Yun Jian and the others had a total of 4 people. Yun Jian was afraid that Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Su Li would accidentally fall from the pirate ship, so she didn't let them sit on the side. Yun Jian let Xiao Yunju and the other 2 sit in the middle, and then she sat on one side of the row. There were 6 people in a row. Yun Jian sat on the leftmost side, then Duan Li, then Su Li, and finally Xiao Yunju. Xiao Yunju was braver, so he was the furthest away from Yun Jian. Yun Jian's row could seat 2 people. "Mom, I want to sit with them. I want to see them cry." Zhang Laifu took the seat on the right side of Xiao Yunju and sat down. He looked at Xiao Yunju with a strange look, as if he wanted to kill Xiao Yunju. Fan Xian spoiled her son, so she naturally agreed to Zhang Laifu's words. So Zhang Laifu sat on the right side of Xiao Yunju, and Fan Xian sat on the rightmost side of Yun Jian's row. From left to right, Yun Jian's row was followed by Yun Jian, Duan Li, Su Li, Xiao Yunju, Zhang Laifu, and Fan Xian. After the staff fastened everyone's seatbelts and reinforced the safety measures outside, they returned to the control room and the game officially began. "It's about to begin. It's about to begin," Xiao Yunju shouted. "TSK, what a coward!" Fan Xian, who was sitting next to him, sneered. At this moment, the pirate ship game officially began. The pirate ship began to sway slowly. Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Su Li were not afraid at all. Zhang Laifu's palms were sweating, but for the sake of his face, he forced himself to stay calm. Fan Xian was already screaming for being swayed. Yun Jian just put her hand on the armrest and let the wind blow her hair and clothes. She didn't know what fear was at all. Just as the pirate ship's swaying was at its peak and was strong enough to fling someone out, the foolish Zhang Laifu suddenly shouted at Yunju, "Brother Yunju, go to hell. You just bullied my mother. Go to hell." As he said that, Zhang Laifu grabbed the seatbelt of Xiao Yunju's seat and unfastened the seatbelt on Xiao Yunju's body. Zhang Laifu had already planned to do so. Once the seatbelt was unfastened, the other safety measure was not enough to bind Xiao Yunju because Xiao Yunju was too thin. Especially at this moment, the pirate ship was flying to the highest point and was about to be thrown to the other side. Suddenly hearing Zhang Laifu's voice, the surrounding people looked over. However, at this moment, the pirate ship swayed down. Xiao Yunju flew out of the pirate ship because he didn't have a seatbelt. "Oh my God! Something happened! Oh my God!" Someone in the distance saw this scene and shouted in shock. He fell from a height of more than 10 meters. This boy will definitely die. At this moment, whether it was the people sitting on the pirate ship, the people standing on the ground waiting for the next batch of people to play the pirate ship, or the people passing by the pirate ship game, they all exclaimed in shock. Intuition told everyone present that Xiao Yunju, the child who was thrown out, was done for. Dead for sure. Dead for sure. However, at this moment, whether it was Fan Exen, Zhang Laifu, and the others sitting on the pirate ship, or everyone standing on the ground, they all saw a horrifying scene. They saw that immediately after Xiao Yunju was thrown out, Yunjian unfastened her seatbelt with one hand and pounced on the trajectory of Xiao Yunju. What is she doing? Is she courting death? Everyone in the surroundings was boiling with fear. For a moment, everyone was trembling with fear. Chapter 1538. The pirate ship swayed left and right, using the motion of the ship's body in the game to sway to the highest point. Therefore, when the pirate ship swayed to the highest point and Zhang Laifu unbuckled Xiao Yunju's seatbelt, Xiao Yunju was like a wild goose whose wings were suddenly broken. He fell from a height of more than 10 meters. This scene shocked the people around, but it was understandable. After all, Xiao Yunju was thrown from a height of more than 10 meters. If his head hit the ground first, his head would be smashed in half by the impact. It was not impossible for the blood in his brain to spurt out. If his brain was smashed in half, how could a fragile child survive? Yun Jian sat in the seat furthest away from Xiao Yunju. She did not expect Zhang Laifu to be so cruel to Xiao Yunju. How could a child be so vicious? Because Su Li and Duan Li were in the middle, Yun Jian, who was sitting next to them, did not notice what Zhang Laifu had done to Xiao Yunju. However, Yun Jian reacted immediately. She did not even have time to think. She unbuckled her seatbelt and pounced toward the place where Xiao Yunju was thrown. Everyone present was scared out of their wits by Yun Jian's actions. The staff was so scared that they quickly exclaimed to each other to turn off the pirate ship's operating switch. Quick, turn off the pirate ship's operating switch. At this time, everyone sitting on the pirate ship, including the people standing on the ground, looked up at the sky. Yun Jian did not even think about it. She unbuckled her seatbelt and jumped out of another strengthened seatbelt with her slender body. She pounced toward Xiao Yunju. In the sky directly in front, Yun Jian quickly stood on the pirate ship. Then, she kicked her legs violently and jumped over Xiao Yunju. Xiao Yunju was thrown out. Yun Jian's kick caught up with Xiao Yunju's speed. She first grabbed Xiao Yunju with one hand, and then the two fell to the ground together with the force. There were many people standing around. There were men and women, young and old, and people from all countries. At this moment, everyone's hearts were tightly clenched. It fell. Just as Yun Jian grabbed Xiao Yunju and the two fell to the ground for a height of more than 10 meters, Yun Jian and Xiao Yunju suddenly landed beside a large railing machine that lifted the pirate ship. Here's the chance. Yun Jian's eyes flashed. In the next moment, she reached out and grabbed the large railing that lifted the pirate ship at a speed that no one could see with their naked eyes. Yun Jian held Xiao Yunju with one hand. She grabbed the large railing and used the large railing to spin 360 degrees around the large railing with Xiao Yunju. Then, she used the large railing to slow down the momentum. Her body was as light as a feather as she landed easily in the last few meters. This extremely complicated move was completed in just 3 seconds by Yun Jian. 3 seconds later, Yun Jian had safely landed with Xiao Yunju. A series of events happened in these 3 seconds. In the eyes of the surrounding people, it was just Yun Jian grabbing Xiao Yunju and using the large railing to slow down the momentum. Then, she jumped and landed smoothly, falling from the pirate ship, more than 10 meters in the air. Yun Jian saved Xiao Yunju and landed smoothly without any injuries. This scene shocked the surrounding people so much that they could not describe it with words. In the next moment, the surrounding people exclaimed one after another, "Oh my God, this little girl is really amazing. Is this a show of Superman saving the world? Oh my God, am I seeing things? This can't be real." Compared to the people of various countries who suddenly saw Yun Jian's shocking performance, on the pirate ship that had been forcefully docked, Fan Exen and Zhang Laifu, who said that Yun Jian would be so scared that she would call for her mother on the pirate ship, were completely shocked. Their faces were pale and bloodless. She was actually so amazing. This How is this possible? A person was thrown out of the pirate ship so violently. How could the other person catch up with the person who was thrown out? Not only that, she even saved the other person and landed safely. Chapter 1539. Wow, Superman. Little girl, you're the best. That's amazing. Could it be that the amusement park deliberately arranged that scene? That was simply too amazing. Too amazing. The surrounding people exclaimed in amazement in their own country's language. At this moment, everyone was applauding and cheering for Yunjian's actions. It was obvious that Yunjian's actions had exceeded everyone's understanding of a little girl. She was just a teenage girl. If she hadn't deliberately practiced this kind of performance, how could she have done such a frightening action? In that scene, if Yunjian's performance had been slightly off, she and Xiao Yunju would have been dead without a doubt. Therefore, when they saw this scene, the surrounding people cheered and screamed. Everyone clapped and applauded. Everyone's eyes, without exception, fell on Yunjian's body. Their eyes fell on this legendary girl. The pirate ship had completely stopped, and Yunjian was standing in front of the pirate ship. There were railings all around to prevent the tourists from being accidentally injured while the pirate ship game was running. Just when everyone's eyes were on Yunjian, they saw Ce using his height advantage to step on the railing and easily jump in. Ce's hand was still holding onto Duanya's collar. Poor Duanya's collar was grabbed by Ce, and she swayed closer to Yunjian. Ce jumped over the railing and entered the pirate ship game facility. He didn't care about the staff's shouts to stop him from jumping over the railing and directly walked towards Yunjian. Poor Duanya was being held by Ce, but she blinked her eyes and looked pitiful to the onlookers. Although Xiao Yunju was brave, he was still frightened by the dangerous situation just now. When Yunjian saw Ce walking over, she pulled Xiao Yunju towards Ce. Keep an eye on my brother. Yunjian's eyes flashed with a sharp, killing intent as she said this very calmly. It was as natural as eating and drinking. Ce understood Yunjian. He pulled Xiao Yunju over. Everyone looked at Yunjian as if they were looking at their idol. Seeing Yunjian turn around and walk towards the pirate ship, everyone was surprised. Fan Xin, who was sitting on the pirate ship, had already unfastened her and her son Zhang Laifu's seatbelt. Seeing Yunjian walking over, Fan Xin panicked. Fan Xin didn't know what her son had just done. They thought that Yunjian was coming over to unfasten Duan Li and Su Li's seatbelts. Seeing Yunjian's calm expression, as if nothing had happened, Fan Xin panicked. Yunjian suddenly glanced over, making Fan Xin speechless. Yunjian raised her hand and unfastened Duan Li and Su Li's seatbelts. She then let them get off the pirate ship by themselves. Fan Xin heaved a sigh of relief, thinking that Yunjian was going to follow Duan Li and Su Li down the pirate ship. Yunjian suddenly grabbed Zhang Laifu. She didn't even think about it, and directly threw Zhang Laifu off the pirate ship that was more than 2 meters high. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes widened. Fan Xin screamed even more exaggeratedly. Ah, Fua! Before Fan Xin could finish screaming, Zhang Laifu was thrown off the pirate ship by Yunjian. He hit the ground and cried out in pain. Before Fan Xin could react, Yunjian had already followed up. In the next second, she stepped on Zhang Laifu's abdomen, who was rolling and screaming in pain. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.